Hello, everyone. Hello, Master. We'll continue with the Earth Store Sutra / today. We're still at the assembly at Trayastrimsa Heaven. With Buddha, Earth Store Bodhisattva and other divine beings. Chapter 10, Comparing the Merits and Virtues of Generosity. At that time, through the Buddha's power, Earth Store Bodhisattva rose, knelt and said to the Buddha, World-honored one, I observe sentient beings in the karmic paths and compare their acts of generosity. The key phrase here is, acts of generosity. Some acts are small, and some are great. Some receive blessings for one life. Some receive blessings for 10 lives, and some receive great blessings and benefits for hundreds of lives, for thousands of lives. Why is this? World-honored one, please explain this to me. At that time, Buddha told Earth Store Bodhisattva, now, in this assembly in the Trayastrimsa Heaven, I will speak on the giving done by sentient beings and compare the merits and virtues therein. Earth Store said to Buddha, I have questions about this matter, and I joyfully wish to listen. The Buddha said, in the human realm, there are kings, high government officials, great elders, great Kshatriyas, great Brahmins, and others. The Brahmins are at the top of the social class, remember? They may encounter those who are the lowest or poorest, or those who are hunchbacked, incapacitated, mute, deaf. When these great kings and others wish to give alms, they do so with great compassion, a humble mind and a smile. They give alms personally or through their representatives, and comfort them with gentle words. Such kings and others will be blessed similarly to those blessings obtained from the merits and virtues of making offerings to as many Buddhas. These kings and others will receive such meritorious and beneficial karma because they have great compassion toward the poorest, lowest people and those who are disabled. They shall receive fame, power, wealth, because of their offerings in their previous lifetimes. In short, if you make offerings now, you'll be blessed in your future lifetimes. One's wealth is from their previous giving. Here's what it says. For hundreds of thousands of lives, they will always have an abundance of the 7 jewels. Not to mention food, clothing, and other necessities of life. Buddha then continued, furthermore, Earth Store, in the future, there may be kings, Brahmins, and others who encounter Buddhist stupas, monasteries, or images of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, sound-hearers, or solitary Buddhas. They may personally prepare and make offerings. Such kings and others will be reborn as sakras for 3 eons and experience excellent, wondrous joy. Think of Sakra as the ruler of the Trayastrimsa Heaven. If Sakra is what you're reborn into, you're going to own everything. That's a lot better than being reborn as a human, right? If they can dedicate the merits and benefits of that generosity to the Dharma realm, these great kings and others will be reborn. As great Brahma kings for 10 eons, how long is that? Maybe about 1 billion years. A Brahma king's position is higher than the Trayastrisa heaven. You shall live forever with immeasurable wealth. That's how it is. Furthermore, Earth Store. In the future, there may be kings, Brahmins, and others who encounter ancient Buddhist stupas, monasteries, sutras, or images that are damaged or dilapidated, and they aspire to restore them. Maybe they were damaged in a fire incident. Such kings and others then do so themselves or encourage hundreds of thousands of other people to make offerings and form karmic connections. Say, we're refurbishing our center, and you're volunteering to do painting or tiling work. If you're helping to place tiles, then you gain merits. Such kings and others will always be reborn, as wheel-turning kings for hundreds of thousands of lives. Those who make offerings along with them will always be reborn, as kings of smaller countries for hundreds of thousands of lives. This is like a group of people nominating a ruler. And the ruler then made those who nominated him his officials. Moreover, if the kings and others dedicate the merits and virtues, in front of the stupas and temples, they will all attain Buddhahood, for such karmic attainments are immeasurable and boundless. See, no dedication and you become kings and officials. With dedication, you become Buddhas. Why is merit dedication so powerful? Incredible. How can you not be impressed? Let's continue. Furthermore, Earth Store. In the future, there may be kings, Brahmins, and others who see the old, the sick, or women in childbirth. Their hearts are instantly filled with compassion. They provide them with medicine, food, drink, and bedding to make them peaceful and happy. Such deeds bring the most merits in return. For 100 eons, they will always be reborn as kings of the pure abode heavens. You'll find the pure abode heavens on the 4th level of the realm of desire. There, you'll find no desire or worries. It's a wonderful realm. That's how it is. The beings in the realm of desire look as fragile as glass, if not more fragile than that. However, they live for eternity. There, you don't eat or worry about anything. It's a realm without desire, but it's filled with happiness. How long do the beings live in that realm? They don't die. That's how wonderful the pure abode heavens is. That's how much merit you'll earn. For 200 eons, They will always be reborn as kings of the 6 heavens of the desire realm.
这个六欲天呢，是指欲界天，又在200大劫之中成为六欲天的天主。
They will ultimately become Buddhas and never fall into the evil
最终
realms.
你还成佛，太神圣了，太神圣了。
For hundreds of
在今
thousands
后
of
的这个
lives,
百千生中，
they will
永远
not hear
听
the
到
sounds of
那些受
suffering.
苦的声音。
What
这
does
是指
this
什么呢？
mean?
你
No
会
cries
一
of
直转
despair
入到
will
非
be
常
heard
美
in
好的那个世
paradise.
界，
And
至少
that's where
天
you're
国以上的
reborn.
世界，它
It's a
根本
realm
没有
without
痛苦烦恼，
worries,
你
after
怎么
all.
能听到那些痛苦的声音呢？
That's
就是
what
这
it
个意思
means.
啊，太美
Wonderful.
妙了。
Let's
接着说，
continue.
地藏王菩萨，
Furthermore,
这
Earth
个倘若
Store.
在未来世中
In the future,
有这
if
个
there
国
are
王、大
kings,
臣、贵族等
Brahmins,
人
and others
做
who
以
can
上
give in
的种
such
种的布
ways,
施，
they
就
will
能
gain
获得
immeasurable merits.
无量无边的福报。
Moreover, if they dedicate the
若能
merit,
把这
be it a
些
lot or a
功
little,
德回向的话，无论功德多少，
they
最
will
终
ultimately
必
become
定成佛。
Buddhas.
更
Not to
别
mention
说
harvesting the
转生为
karmic
第十
effects to be
天呐、大
reborn
梵天王啊、
as
转轮
sakras,
圣王等等的
brahmas,
福报。
or will
因为
turning
你最终
kings.
成佛，
We're
成佛的
talking
境
about
界要
being
比这些成
reborn
为
as
大
a
梵天
Buddha.
王要高多了。
A
但是
Buddha's
最终
level is
极
way
致的
higher
没办法
than that
超
of
越的最高的
sakras,
境界。
brahmas, or will
对，你
turning
最终能成为
kings.
佛呀。
That's how it is. Awesome,
就
right?
这么棒啊！记住
So,
哈，
how do
怎
you
么成
become a
佛的呢？
Buddha?
就是
Just
把这些
dedicate
功
the
德回
merit,
向，
be it a
无论
lot
你的
or a
功德
little.
或多或少都能成佛。这
Then,
个太棒
Buddha
了。
said,
所以
Therefore, Earth
地藏王菩
Store,
萨
encourage
要
all
广泛地
sentient beings to
向
follow these
一切众
examples.
生宣讲这其中的道理啊，劝说他们学着做才对呀。
Alright, we're done with the
前
kings,
面这是对
rulers,
国王、
and
贵
those
族
with
啊
higher
婆罗
social
门 这
statures
些
such
贵
as
族
the
们讲的
Brahmins.
哈。
Let's
接
talk
下来
about the
要讲
commoners.
的呢，是对我们普通的，就人世间普通的阶级的老百姓讲的。
Buddha
接着说，
said,
地藏王菩
Furthermore,
萨
Earth
在未
Store,
来世中，
in the
若有
future, if
普
kind
通
men
大
and
众
women
在
plant virtuous
佛法
roots in
中
Buddha
种一
Dharma,
点点善根，
even
哪怕
as
是
little
一
as a
丝
speck
一
of
毫，
dust, they
他
will
们所受
receive
的福报
incomparable
就会大得
merits
不得
and
了。
blessings.
怎么说呢？
Furthermore, Earth
在未来
Store,
世中，如果有
in the
普通
future,
大众
if kind
见
men and
到
women
佛
encounter
像、
the
菩萨
images of
像、铁
Buddhas,
枝佛像，
Bodhisattvas,
甚至转轮
solitary
王的
Buddhas,
像，
or will turning
能去
kings,
布
and
施
make
供养的
offerings
话，
or donations to
即可
them,
得
they
到
will gain
无
immeasurable
量的
merit.
福报。
They will
常
always
在
be reborn in the
人间
human and
还
heaven
有天
realms,
上享受最美妙的安乐，
and
就是人家
experience
在天上
excellent,
啊。 这
wonderous
又递
joy,
进了
if they
不
can
一样的。
dedicate that
若把
merit to
这
the
份
Dharma
功德
realm.
回向给法界的话，
They
那
will
这个
receive
人的福
incomparable
德
merits and
就多得
blessings.
无法比喻了。地藏王菩
Furthermore,
萨
Earth
在
Store,
未来世中，
in the
若
future,
有普
there may
通
be
大
kind
众
men and
遇
women
到
who encounter
大
the
乘经
Mahayana
典，
Sutras.
大
The
乘经典的
Mahayana
特点就
Sutras
是
have the
里面有
title
菩萨名号。
Bodhisattva,
那
but
么
the
早期的
Hinayana
小乘经
Sutras
典之
don't
中
have
没
the
有菩
title
萨这样一
Bodhisattva.
种概念。
So the
大概就是这样的
Mahayana
哈。
Sutras were
遇到
mentioned.
大乘
If they
经
are
典，
attentive
或
and
是听
respectful,
到、
if they
看
sing
到
praises
其
and
中
pay
一句
reverence,
寄
if
语、
they make
一句
offerings
经
and
文，
donations,
能发大真诚心去赞叹、恭敬、
they
布
will
施供
harvest
养
great
的话，
karmic attainments,
那
which
么
are
这个人
immeasurable and
会获
boundless.
得巨大的果报。
If
若
they
能
make
把
dedications to the
这
Dharma
功德
realm,
回向法界，记住回向法界，
their
那
merits
他
will
的
be beyond
福德
comparison.
也就无法比喻了。
Think
那
of
如
the
果
act of
回向之后，
dedication as an
就像一
act
个
of
放大器，
multiplying your
是吧？
merits.
回
If
向
you
之后就把
dedicate a
这个
merit, you
1
gain
块钱吧变成
10,000
1万了，
or a
变成10
million
亿了，
merits in return.
回向我觉得就像超级放大器啊。
Furthermore,
地藏王
Earth
菩萨
Store,
在
in
未
the
来世
future,
中
there may be
啊，
kind
倘若
men
有
and
人呢
women who
遇到
encounter
新的这个佛塔、佛寺、
new
大乘
stupas,
经典，
monasteries,
能
or
去
Mahayana
布施供
Sutras.
养这个瞻仰礼赞，
They
恭
may
敬
make
礼拜
offerings
的
and
话，
pay respect.
啊，
If
若
these
是遇到
structures
旧
and
的
sutras
已
are
经
old
破
or
损的
damaged,
这
they
个
may
佛
repair
塔、
and
佛
restore
寺
them.
啊，这个佛像、佛经，那
They
么
may
这
do
位
so
善
by
人
themselves
或
or
者自己
encourage
去发
others
心
to
修善，
join them.
或者是劝说多人一起来进行修善的话，那么
Such beings will
这些
always
一
be
起发
reborn.
心的人哈，
as
在
kings of smaller
30 生
countries for
中
30 lives.
常能转生为小国王，
The
而那位
leaders of
领
such
头
efforts
发
will
心的
always be
人，
reborn,
在
as will
30
turning
生中
kings and will teach and
常常
transform.
成为转轮圣王，
The
就是
kings
等
of
于联合
smaller
国的总
countries
统，
through virtuous
还可
Dharma.
以以种种善法去教导那些小国王，这
Awesome,
多神圣啊！
right?
最后，
Furthermore,
地藏
Earth
王菩
Store,
萨
in the
在未来
future,
世
there
中，
may be kind
倘若
men
有
and
普
women
通
who
大众
plant
在
virtuous
佛法
roots
中
in Buddha
所
Dharma.
种的善根，
By
或者
making
是供养、
offerings and
布施，
donations,
或者是
repairing
修
stupas
缮
or
塔、
monasteries,
寺，
rebinding
或者是
sutras,
修复经典，
or
哪
even
怕
doing
只做
deeds
了
as
一
little as a
丁点，
drop of water.
如此的善事，
If
如
these
果
virtuous
能回
deeds are
向法界，
dedicated to the Dharma
那
realm,
么
they will
此人
receive
的功
merits
德
and virtues that
在
allow them to
未来
experience
100,000生中都
superior,
能得到
wondrous joy for
无
hundreds of
上妙
thousands of
乐。
lives.
无上妙乐就
Name
是
me
没
something
有
better
比它
than this.
更美妙的快乐自在了。
I don't
那
think
就没
there's
法比是一
anything.
种什么样的境界，
This is
太美
splendid.
好了。如果只
However,
是回
if
向
they
给自
dedicate the
己，
deeds
或者
to
是
their
自己的
family,
眷属、亲人的
relatives,
话呢，
retinues,
那
or
么
for their
所
own
得到的福
benefits,
报
the result
都
will
是
be
三
to
生享受
experience
快乐。
joy for only 3
这叫做
lives. To
舍
give
一
one
得
is
万。
to receive
你看，你只做了一点点功
10,000-fold
德，
in
你
return.
看看
Just
你
a little
转世之后
dedication
成为
and
什
you
么样
get
的
to
人，
be reborn as
都是小国
kings.
的国王，是不是啊？那
And
多
you're
快乐，
blessed with
还能
happiness
获得
for
三
3
生的这种快
lifetimes.
乐。所以
Thus,
啊，
Earth
地藏王菩
Store.
萨，
These
这
are
个
the
布
causes
施的
and
功德利
conditions of
益
giving.
就是这样的。
That's
讲到
the
这儿
end
呢，
of chapter
第
10.
10品到此圆满。
Master,
师傅，
there's a
那么
part in
在
this chapter that
原
goes
文
like
当中
this.
呢，还有这样的一段，
When
是
these
说
great
国
kings
王
and
他们
others
在于
wish
布
to
施
give
的时候
alms,
呢，
they do
若
so
能
with
具
great
大慈悲，
compassion, a
下
humble
行
mind, and
含
a
笑，
smile. They give
亲
alms
手
with
念
their
布
own
施，
hands,
或
or
是
through their
忍受
representatives,
软
and
言
comfort
润语。
people with gentle
这个地
words.
方呢
What
有
does the
比较
phrase, a
下
humble
行
mind and a
含笑，
smile,
想祈
mean?
请师父再给我们更多的讲解一下，什么叫下行含笑，如何来理解它？
It
请
refers to
问
the
这
way
个
the
国王、
kings,
君王、
rulers, and
大
Brahmins
富贵、
interact
大
with the
婆罗门、
poor.
超级的通神的人，他们的面对这个穷人，
In
还有
ancient
印度不
India,
是有这种
people
种
were
阶级吗？
categorized
就是我是
into
高
different
贵的人，
social
大
classes.
富贵
Do
人、
you
有
think
权
the
利的
rich
人，
treated everyone on equal
他
terms? Were
和
they
这个
treating the
贫苦
rich
的流
in
浪
one
汉，
way
躺那
and
儿
the
根本
poor
没饭
another
吃的
way?
人，他是一视同仁的心情嘛？
Those who
国
belonged
王
to
他
the
的
lower
地主啊，
social
都是非常
classes
高高在上的，
avoided
那
eye
底下那些
contact with
低
those in the
阶
upper
层的人都
classes.
不敢正眼看的。
In
在
ancient
古印
India
度
and
和西藏，
Tibet, the poor would bow
都
when they
是
saw the
穷人、
rich.
普通人见了这个高贵的人都是弯着腰的。
That was
古
the
印度
way
更是
in
如此。
ancient India.
所
When
以呢，
people bowed or
弯着腰，
knelt,
你的
they
位置就
showed
低，
their
对不
social
对？
status.
甚至是跪在那儿的。
Could the
所以
rich
呢，
face the
你
poor
那个
with
要
a
慈
humble
悲的
mind
心呀，
and a
向下
smile?
看了，是
When
吧？
they
把
were
你的
bowed
心
at,
也要调低一点，是吧？
they should
哎，
at
要
least
首先
lower
是
their
先
head
要
a
向
little
下
bit,
看。
right? You
还
wouldn't
有，
do that if
比
you
如
see
说我
yourself as
是一个
rich and
富人，
powerful.
又有钱又有势，心里就是这么想的时候，
You
其
wouldn't
实我
even
看的
lower
都是
your
往上
gaze.
头的，
Heads up,
昂
always.
首
They
挺
walk
胸，
as if they're on a
飘
cloud.
飘然，
Their
就是
energy is
你的
up,
能量是
so they
往
look
上
up, not down.
啊。
That's
所
why
以就
there's a
是这
saying.
个有大富大贵的人，
The rich
当
should
这个
act
哲学
after
家提醒
thinking
他们
more
的时候，
than
都是说
twice.
你的心呢要沉静下来。比如
Say,
说，
when you're
今天我
accepted
考
by
上
your
大学了，
dream
你的能量
college, you feel
上
the
来了，
blood rush
是
to
吧？
your head.
今
The
天我
same
突然
happens
间
when you
中
hit a
奖了，你的
jackpot,
能量是往上走，对不对？
or when
哎，
you
今天
have a
和朋友
drinking
吹
party
牛
with your
喝酒高
friends.
兴了，能量往上走啊。
When you're
当你看
overly
尤其是
excited,
明显
you
的能量
mostly
往
end
上走
up
的时候，就
saying
出
and
现
doing the wrong
说错
things.
话、做错事。
A sudden
头晕
feeling
乎
of
乎，高
dizziness
兴了，
is normal
就
when
是
you're
吹牛
overly
吹高兴
excited.
了啊，那种晕乎感，
You
都
walk
是这
as
个
if
能
you're
量
on
集中在
cloud
头上，
nine when you're
有了这
dizzy.
种叫做飘的啊、飘飘然的这个感觉的时候，
That's
就
when
缺
people
少了那
lose their
种
calmness,
沉静的、
composure, and wisdom.
踏实的、稳重的、智慧的 的理性的思考人都会有这样子的。
People
还
say
有
compliments can kill.
江湖上有一种话叫做捧杀了他，
Here's a
我们想
unique
害
way
他，
to kill: give
我们
compliments.
就用各种的方法去奉承他。
Even the most powerful warrior shows weakness if they receive too many compliments and so lose their cool. Most people are blind to themselves but take compliments seriously. Most rich people look down on the poor. Some, not all, okay? That's why Buddha tells the rich to make offerings with a humble mind and a smile if they want to gain merits. When giving alms or doing good deeds to benefit the poor, they shall do it calmly and with great compassion and a humble mind. Besides compassion, empathy is important too. It means caring by putting yourself in other people's shoes, especially the poor and those who suffer from disabilities. People with disabilities live difficult lives. Think about those who were born mentally challenged. In this case, they face a hard time earning money to support themselves. That's why you need to put yourself in their shoes, especially the poor. Alright, the humble mind part is done. We move on to the smile part. It's not enough to have great compassion and empathy. You need to show it. Show it with a smile. That's what Buddha says. You need to smile. Your expression and body language should express your loving heart. When you offer people something, don't just throw it in their faces. That doesn't look compassionate at all. Although you're giving, you don't consider the receiver's feelings. So the Buddha taught the kings and the rich in detail about giving with a compassionate mind while acting nicely. Master, here's another part in the sutra. In the future, there may be kings, Brahmins, and others who encounter Buddhist stupas, monasteries or images of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, sound-hearers or solitary Buddhas. They may personally prepare and make offerings. Can you explain this personally part? Stupas, statues, temples, monasteries. We all know they promote compassion and Buddhism. Why does Buddha suggest the great kings do it personally? Why is it better if the great kings do it personally, rather than hiring someone to do it for them? Of course, they could donate some money but not do it by themselves. That shows their compassion too, but you gain something else by doing it by yourself. It's self-liberation and self-improvement. Look how many people joined us when we were building new centers. You'd see people painting, tiling, and some doing the roof job. It was tiring, but they felt happy afterward. I call this kind of happiness Dharma bliss. When you feel happy from helping to build a Buddhist center, you gain lots of merits, so your karma from your sins is cleared. That will help you avoid hell and reach paradise. Awesome, right? Do people gain merits after making a big donation, or hiring people to do charity work? Yes, they do gain merits from these actions. But, for someone aspiring to help others, you're missing out on what it feels like to help others in person. Listening to people's food review is different from tasting the food yourself. You know this. Why do people spend money on flights to travel when they can just watch a travel channel on their TV?
坐飞机10几个小时，我要亲自去看呢，
Again,
不一样，
these are
那
entirely
种感受
different
不一样，
feelings.
对不对？
Doing it
所以
yourself
亲
and having
自
others
体会的
do it
感
for
觉是
you are
完全
not
不
the
同。
same. The
但是
former
呢，使我们
cultivates
的
more
那个
compassion
就是
and
说
generates more
慈悲
merits.
心和功德就会更大。
To put it
我比
simply,
喻来说
it's like
比如说
this.
我们
When
自
you
己
spend
同样
money
花了
on
这么多
charity
钱
works,
去做慈
or
善去
hiring
帮穷
people
人
to build
或
a
者修佛
temple,
庙，
you get
获
10,000
得的功德
merits.
是1万。
When you
那我
spend
亲力
money
亲
and
为，既
participate in the
拨
work in
钱
person,
又带一群人去干这个活儿哈，
you get
那所获得的这个是
100,000 merits. That's the
啊，它不一
difference.
样，
Your
这功
merits
德
are
会放大。
magnified. When you're
因为其实你
participating
在
in
做
it,
的这个
you're
时候，
doing charity
是
for
你自己
real.
的那种
You can
真实的
experience
那
the
种
feeling while
做慈
doing.
悲、做慈善，
When you're helping
乃
to
至和
build a
佛菩
Buddhist
萨
center,
或者和道场的师傅
you're
在
forming
接
a
触的时
bond with
候，
the center's
那
masters
种
and Buddha.
那种体会，
That's a
本身就
process
在
of
得到了度
self-liberation.
化啊。
It's in the
对，它
heart.
会深入
That's
你
the
的人心。
difference. Many
比如说你
people
拿出一些
donate
钱来做
because
慈善，有
someone
的说
asked them,
是因我同学介
and
绍
they
我
find it
是
hard to say
有好
no.
薄面
Are
子，
they
我不得不
donating out
出
of
这笔钱来做
sincerity?
慈善。可是我
No.
亲自
When
去
you're
做的
doing
时
the
候，
charity
说
work
哇
in
太好
person,
了，
you
做
feel
慈
happy
善让我
after
好
helping
幸福，
someone.
所以它
There's an
在
essential
从根本的
distinction.
性质上会有很大的差异。
That's
所以我们容
liberation
易
through
被
hard
度化，
work, and
容
you
易产
gain
生更
lots of
巨大的
merits
功
from
德，
it.
就是这样子。啊，
That's the
完
difference.
全不一样的效果。
In the
结果
history
那我
of
们也知道，
Buddhism,
在佛教史上
there were
是有
many
非常
remarkable
多了不
kings
起的
influenced by
国王，
Buddhist
他们
teachings.
听从了佛陀的教导，
They went
修
on to
造的
build
佛寺啊、
monasteries and
佛塔
temples,
呀，
and
宣传
also
功
to
佛
spread
精神。所以
sutras.
也是
Master,
恳请师
could you
父给
name
我
some
们
of these
介绍
rulers who did
几位
such
这样
deeds?
了不起的国王，他们曾经做过的一些善举。
There were a
这个
lot,
在世界历史
actually.
上哈，这个都数不清楚有多少。
Let's
在
talk
印度
about
来
King
说呢，
Ashoka
就
from
是最
India.
早的有一位那个大转轮王叫阿育王，
He and
他
Shi
当时呢
Huangdi had
就
one
有点
similarity.
像于中国的秦始皇，
The latter
就他
united the
将当
warring
时的印
states
度
and formed
融
China,
合
right?
整个这个区域哈，
King
有很大的
Ashoka
面积
also
都已经
expanded his
被
territory
统治，
through lots of
也就
great
是有很多
battles.
小的小国、
The
小
smaller
诸侯
states
国
knew they
打
couldn't
的这个
win,
部落哈，
so they
那么多的小
surrendered.
国，他给他统一了。
Genghis
但是
Khan
啊，
did the
其
same,
实
didn't he?
就像一路打，就像当年成吉思汗一样，
Leading
一
an
打
army
本
is
身不
not
容易，对不
easy.
对？
You
虽然
can't
你
bring
带着，
all
比如
your
说你带着
soldiers
100
with
万军
you.
队，
You have to
难道你
leave
把
some
军队
to
都
look
留下
after
来
your
打赢对吧？
territories.
不会吧？你能留几十个人军队就不错了，对不对？
Did
打
King
回去，
Ashoka
你
face
带着
any
你的大部队
obstacles?
一直往前打，
Of
打回去
course.
的地方会不会造反呢？
Not
所以你
everyone
的统
surrendered
治领导
without
嘛，就
putting
有
up a
法律问
fight.
题。
The
所以
smaller
等阿
states
育
were
王
outmatched and
把
outnumbered,
印度打得差不多了，
so they
很多人
quickly
该投降的、
surrendered.
该臣
It's
服
the
的，
outcome
因
we
为打不过他，
expect.
打不过他就说那我就听你的吧，
That's
就
how
这样
King
他们统一
Ashoka
了。
expanded his
但是接
ruling
下来，
territory.
仗
However,
刚打
just
完
when
之
he
后，
thought he could
自以
rule
为可以
without
成为一个
worries,
转轮王，一个大皇帝了，
troubles
问
arose
题
everywhere
就
in the
接二连
liberated
三的就发
states.
生了。
Not
他
long
打
after
过的这
peace
些
was
国，
restored,
这些小国，
the
等他的
liberated
大部队
states
都走过
rebelled
去之
against
后，他
King
们就造反。
Ashoka. We're
不
talking
是一个
about
造
all
反，
of
都
the
造反。
states. At
那
that
么阿育
time,
王就
one
有
of
一位
King
妃子，
Ashoka's
这
concubines,
个妃
who
子呢就
practiced
姓佛，
Buddhism and often
她这个
meditated,
妃
gave
子
him an
呢，因
idea.
为经常是打坐念经，
The
就
wise
很有智慧，
concubine told
就
King
给他出主
Ashoka
意
to
说，
study Buddhism
你
and apply
应
the
该是以
principles of
佛为
Buddhism
治
to
理，
his rulership.
来统一诸国。
How?
怎么办呢？
The
就是首
concubine
先，
suggested that
这个
King
你
Ashoka
将这个
rule
佛的
with
这个慈
compassion.
悲啊，来把这个概念，说我要学习佛的慈悲，
Treat
对众
people
生
with
一定是这
compassion.
样的慈悲的、
Liberate
普
the
度的
states
帮
without
助的，
hurting
而
anyone.
不是伤害。
At
所
that
以说，
time,
佛教
deceased
讲究大
Buddhist
师都要
masters in
焚
India
化
were
啊，要
cremated.
火化
The
啊，烧出来的
84,000
很多舍
colorful
利子，
relics were
就是
collected
彩
and
色明珠一样
redistributed to the
舍利
states
子，
by King
84000
Ashoka.
颗，他就分到了整个印度各地，尤其是他征服的这些国家，
He also
修这
built
个
towers and
佛塔、
stupas to
舍利
keep
塔，
these relics.
来供佛的舍利，等于是阿育王将这个舍利分给 给诸国的。
He accumulated merits through building the relic
他也做
towers.
功德。
In
应该是
ancient
在
India,
古印度当中，
some of the
应该也
towers
与
were
佛
even
法相
named
关的
after him,
这个叫
called
做
Ashoka pillars.
阿育王柱。
The
阿育
towers
王柱
symbolize
其实
King
那个时候就
Ashoka's
代
might
表
and
着这皇
compassion.
帝的威仪。他呢，就是说我既有威武，我还有慈悲。
That's one
你
of
看
the
他是
good
这样
things
的
he
一种
did.
做事方式。
He also
所以的话呢，
donated
阿
and
育王
supported monks
也
and
为
had
此
monasteries
供
built for
养了
them,
很多的僧人，修了很多的道场。
building
你比如说，
stupas to keep the
修了这
relics
个
was
佛
not
舍利塔
enough.
都大石头的，对不对？
Practitioners
要有
needed
人
a
修
proper
行啊。
place to practice.
对，他所以要给这些修行人拨地。
So
那
he
时候没
also
办法给你
offered
粮食，
vacant lands.
这
The
个修行
lands
人也
became
叫你
practice
那
grounds,
给你
and
地，只
crops
是
were also
修行
grown
人用
on
的这
them.
个土地种了粮食
No
不用
need to
缴
pay
税。
tax.
你们
The
可以自己吃，
practitioners could
给你
eat
多
what
一
they
点的话，你
harvested
多
on
的
the
粮食之
land.
后，
They could
百
help
姓困
people
难
in
的
a
时候，你
time
可以
of
摘取百姓。
disaster. That was
是
his
这样。
policy.
所以
His
这个政策
methods
呢，
were
中国和世
inspiring
界
and
各地都用。
copied by other
所以
famous
他做了
rulers.
这么多的功德，这么多的事情。
Wu Zetian was another ruler with a big heart.
也是唐朝就武则天呐。
She also
他也是
contributed a
非
lot
常
to
地
the promotion
弘扬
of
传播
Buddhism.
佛法哈。他亲自写的这个开经记
The
对
Buddha's
无上
teachings are
甚深微
unsurpassed,
妙法
profound,
百
and
千万
wonderful,
劫难遭
difficult to
遇
encounter
我
even
今
in
见难
millions
得
of
受持
eons.
愿
Now
解
I
脱
see
道
and
真
hear
实
it,
义
and I am
这
able
特
to
别好，就
receive
读
and
这个开
uphold
经
it.
记都
I
让自己
aspire
身
to
心恭敬
understand
之
the
心
real
特别
message
的
of
感
the
动。
Buddha.
这个
Remarkable.
武则
Reading
天
this
哈，
gatha,
也是中
I
国
was
唯一的
moved,
真正
and
的
I
女
have
皇，
great respect
就
for
正
her.
式做皇
Empress
帝
Wu was the
这个
only
做皇帝
empress
的
in the
哈。
history of China.
好，
She
武则
ruled
天的这
during
个
the
功过
second
我们
Zhou
先不说，
dynasty. Let's
我们
not
先说
talk
她的
about
悟
her
性。
achievements. I prefer
她
to
在那
talk
个时
about her
候
potential
就
for
曾经就
enlightenment.
发
She
愿，
made a great
跪在
vow.
佛
How
前发愿，
great! She
说
vowed to
她呢自
copy
己
the
读
Diamond
金刚经读
Sutra
不懂，
until she had full
说读不
understanding
懂
of
没
it.
关系，我呢抄写，
With
用
what?
舌头尖儿刺破之后，
Her
那个
blood.
血再掺朱砂什么之类的哈。
I don't
细
quite
节那个配
remember
方
how
我不
she
知道，
did it,
首先有她自己的血，
but you
就是
could
舌头
call
尖
some
的
of the
血
copies
来
blood
抄写《金刚
sutras.
经》。
There were
她的
about
愿望说，我
100,000 copies
要抄写
produced
10
at
万
that
遍。
time. Not many
今天
people have seen the
很少
original
有人
copies
有
of the
这个武
blood
则天
sutras.
皇帝当年亲手抄的《金刚经》，这个原本，我们说的是原本。
Some
在
of the
国外一些
famous
大的博物
museums
馆，有
have
的人
them.
就有，可
Yes,
能是
that's
它的
how
原本，
valuable the
已
blood
经非
sutras
常
are.
非常的稀罕和珍贵了。
I've
但
never
是
come
我读
across
过
the blood
原本
sutras,
的手抄本的，
but I
不
did
是
read
武
a
则天，
copy done
是
by
武则
people
天
whom the
花
empress
钱
hired.
动员别的文化人抄的。
You could
就
see
通
the
常都是说，
designation
比如
of
说
the
我
person
是
who
工部
copied it
侍
at the
郎
bottom of the
啊，
sutra.
张老大这个对恭敬沐浴这个临抄这部佛经
That's
是
how
这
it
样的。
is. At
对，
that
他都是
time,
有他底下这个官职的名字，
only
因
the
为只有读书
educated
人才有
ones had
文化，普
designations.
通人没有文化的。
All
而且那个字
characters
都是
were
亲手
nicely
写的，都特别
handwritten.
漂亮。
If
甚
one
至这
wrong
个一个
stroke
错
was
别字儿
made,
不能有，
the whole
有
page
有
was
这一页就
gone.
撕掉了，
They
就
had to
换
do it
掉。
all over
他等
again.
抄完了
After
之
the
后，
whole sutra
再
was
每一页
done,
再把它
the
装订
pages
起
were
来，
bound.
是这样，
That's how
非常的不
difficult it
容易。
was.
那
Among
么
the
武则天
100,000
据说
copies,
就
there
抄
were
了
about
2800
2,800
册
blood
《
sutras.
金刚经》。
You could
所以
say
这
that
个
her
人他是
desire
对于更高境界的佛法和哲学，
for
他
higher
是有
level
人
Buddhist
生大
teachings
追
was
求。
real. At
那
that
一般
time,
女人来
women
说，是
seldom
吧？
had such
下汉下
aspiration.
汉穿衣吃饭，
Most
找个
just
男人
waited
混
to
日
get
子就
married.
过去了，
Some
大不
hoped
了
they'd
像
get
那个
picked
清
by the
宫皇
emperor
那
as a
个清宫后
concubine
宫的斗，能成为一个什么叫什么正宫娘娘，
and
是
become
吧？
the
贵妃
queen.
或者
That's
是
it.
皇后，就最高了，对不对？
She
我
was
觉得她也不
different.
是真是
Empress
在
Wu
整个
gained
的
power
被
because she
迫
was
害的过程
capable.
之中，最后成为皇帝的。
Prior
这
to
最后
becoming
皇帝
the
不上朝，就让
empress,
他，是吧？
she was
你
like
看
an
看这些奏
advisor
折
to
该怎
her
么批，你帮我
husband,
批。
the emperor. Empress
所
Wu
以
started doing
武
the
则天那
emperor's
时候根
job
本就不
before
是
she
皇帝，
became the
就
empress.
帮皇帝批奏折，
She would
半夜
even
挑
help
灯
the
批奏
emperor
折，批
go
奏
over
折，
policies
批
until
到
late
凌
into
晨
the
4
night.
点，都是他帮着批的。
The
但是
emperor
他不
needed
瞒着
her
皇帝，
honest
皇上
and
问他都是
constructive
你的
opinions.
读，不说谎。
She would
你皇帝
voice
你
her
觉得我这
idea
样
and ask the emperor's
来
opinion.
处理合适吗？
The
有时
emperor
说
would
合适，
nod
有时
or
说啊
ask
那
her
你为
why.
什么这样来处理呢？
She would
我就把道理
explain.
告诉他，
Eventually,
有
the
道理。
emperor handed her more power and authority. That was
所以
how
他
she
是
helped
帮
while
助皇
learning.
帝料理国事。
The
最后
emperor
习惯
thought
上
his
皇帝
wife was
就
more
觉得
suited to
还是你
rule
最
than
好
himself, and
你
that's how
就
we
帮
have
我
Empress
这件
Wu.
事儿。
She had
慢
more
慢的
insights than
最
the
后很多
emperor's
大臣
most
也不如
trusted
他那个
officials.
境界。
Most
那些
emperors'
当
children
时
and
他们堂上的
concubines were good for
皇帝
nothing.
的什么女儿啊、孩子、儿子、孙子等等的，
They spent
是
time
玩
on
花天酒
toys,
地。
liquor, treasures,
谁从
games,
西域进来什么
etc.
五花马，什么青鬃马、汗血宝马，是吧？谁又从非洲弄来一个奴隶？谁又弄来一个大红宝石？
They had
都是
no
比
idea
富贵
what
比
was
奢侈
happening in the country.
就是这样子的。哎，
All they
就是看
cared
谁吃得
about
胖
was having more toys than their
富贵啊。
siblings and counterparts.
他呢，
Wu was different. She
洁身自
preferred
好。
to make her country
我要做好
stronger.
该做的，对这个国家也有好处。你们都去玩儿去，
So
我
she
来帮着
became
皇
the
帝去做这
emperor's
件事。
advisor. She
那
always
皇帝
had
不
better
是，皇帝也
ideas
帮
and
忙。
solutions
经过
than
他
the
解释
inept
之后，皇帝也
emperor.
觉得有道理，他有道理。
Whenever
所以
the
每一次
emperor
皇帝
had
处理政
problems
事
he
最
couldn't
棘手的事
solve,
都牵着当时武则天
he'd
的叫武
turn to
媚娘，
Wu,
牵着武
because
媚娘
Wu
的手，他
always
就
had
来找
answers
我，
to the
要
emperor's
处理看这
problems.
件事怎么弄。
She
就是
quickly
拉着他
became
当
the
主君。
emperor's favorite.
所
That's
以
how
把
she
他
eventually
伺候
came
自己
to
觉得自己
replace
是
the
皇帝的
emperor.
原因也就是这样，皇帝出不了的事，处理不了的事，都是让他来处理。
Although
但
she's
是
often
我们
portrayed
看
as
到
a
的
cruel
剧本之
character
中的
in the
凶狠，
movies, she
再
did
看他
many
做了很
deeds
多
that
慈善
showed
的
her
事情，
compassion. She built
修道，
lots of temples,
迎请佛
stupas,
舍利
and monasteries in which
啊，
to keep
迎请
relics.
佛舍利来之后，建塔建庙，供养，为这个佛舍利，
She
就是
also
首先
supported
要
more
供
than
养
3,000
3000多
monks.
僧人，
That was
那
a
多
lot
少
of
钱啊？
money
多
and
少饭，
lands for the
多少地
temples
呀，
and
对不对？
stupas.
而
Decades
且到
later,
后来，
people
到
found
近
lots
代
of
前
valuable
几十年，
treasures
发现了这个法门寺地宫，就
donated
是
by
放这个
Empress
佛之骨
Wu
舍利的地方。
in the
之后
underground
在那个
chambers
地
of
宫地
Feimen
窖里头
Temple
挖
in
出来的，
Shangxi,
多数的
China.
最宝贵的东西都是武则天捐来的。
There were
什么
golden
金碗、
bowls,
金碟子、丝织
containers,
品、宝
vases,
物、宝函，
fabrics,
那
and
个
other
放舍利那些
containers
宝
for the
物，全部都是
relics.
他捐的。
Records
他
state that
祭
she'd
祀
make
要祭
offerings
拜，
at
他
Feimen
亲
Temple.
自去祭拜。
On the
凡
eighth
是
day
四
of
月
the
初八，
fourth
他一
month of
定
the
去法
lunar
门寺祭拜，
calendar. She did
他
it
亲自。
personally, not
就是这
hiring
样的。
people to do it.
所以
She
这
was
个人是该
strict,
处理
both
政
at
务的时
work
候
and about
不
her
留情，
duties
处理
as a
政务；
Buddhist. She
该
never
礼
missed
佛、
her
该念经的时
meditation
候一定要去
practices.
做。
She had
他
her
经
own
常有时候
unique
处
method
罚
of
那个大
punishing her
说这样
ministers.
吧，哎，
Instead
我说
of
你做
putting
错
them
这件事
behind
情，
bars,
我处
she
罚你
had
抄
them
写2
copy
本《金刚经》
sutras.
可以吗？我不用惩罚你，不用进监狱了，好吧？
Not
就
only
抄
did
写《
she
金
not
刚经》的
jail
这
her
个功德，
ministers,
就
she
算是
gave
免
them
你
a
的罪了，
chance
可
to
以。
gain merits.
那
Do
你
you
说他
call
狠不
such a
狠呢？
person cruel? She
很
looks
仁慈，
compassionate to
就
me.
度了他了。
She
所以
also
他
built
兴建
many
了很
famous
多的寺
Buddhist
庙。
sites.
就
In
今天龙
Longmen
门石
Grotto's
窟的开凿，
Luoyang, there
不
is
光
a
龙门
huge
石窟那一尊大
Sakyamuni
佛
Buddha
像，因为
carving,
旁边很多那个洞
and
雕的那
smaller
些
Buddha
佛菩萨像
carvings
和
and
经文都是
sutras.
他出钱
Many
做的。
were built under Empress
所以大
Wu's
唐
orders. I
这
think
个
her
大
broad
唐王
heart
朝的
was
这个
part
兴
of the
旺发达，
reason.
我觉得也与
离不开
武则天
他。
的巨大的贡献，
是
Why
因为
Tang
他有一个无
dynasty
比
was
开阔
able
的
to
心胸
prosper.
啊，
是
这个有绝对的关系。
The
包
Empress
括他的
also
佛
sent
教文
monks
化
to
的发
foreign
达，
lands,
说武
to
则
the
天派的
places
这些
now
使
known
臣连
as
和尚一
Japan
起
and Korea.
去日本
对传
啊，
法。
去韩国，
The
去
northern
我们
parts
今
of
天都已经
China
分不
were
清不是
also
国家，
foreign
比如
lands
像
in the
中国东北
past.
地区，那个时候是外国，
Monks
去
were
周
sent
围
to
去
these places to
传
spread
播这
Buddhist
样慈
teachings.
悲善念的这些佛学道理。
对，
对，是这样子的。
Look
所
how
以是一个
aspired
心
she
胸
was in
非常
spreading
的
Buddhist
超然的一
teachings.
位大士
嗯
啊，不得了的。
嗯。
嗯，
It's also
好，那
mentioned
师傅
that
今天我们
dedication
整
of
个这个
merits
经
to
文
the
讲下
Dharma
来，
realm
听明白了，哇，原来回向之后的话，
brings a lot
真的
more
它的功
merits
德
than
哈，
no
可以请
dedication.
师傅多
Master,
讲一
please
下啊，什么
explain
叫
how
回向
merits can
讲
be
解，
dedicated
怎
to
么
the
做？
Dharma realm.
以佛所
First,
讲的呢，
we need to
回向就
understand
是
what merit
通
dedication
常比如说
is.
我为我的
Say,
母亲
you
做这
did a
份功
good
德，
deed
我的
and
回
wanted
向
to
是
dedicate the
我
merits earned to your
以此
mother,
功德回向给我慈悲的母亲，
so
这
that
个
she's
愿她
blessed
健
with
康
health
长
and
寿，早日
longevity.
康复，对不对？
If your
还有说
mother
往
has
生的
passed
母亲呢，就
away,
是我愿她啊消除一切世的一切的恶业，
you
啊
want
不
her to
会
be rid of her
下
karmic
到
debt
地
so
狱，
that she
不会
avoids
堕到地
hell.
狱。
With the
啊，
help
希
of
望
these
佛呢慈
merits,
悲，以此功德
you wish
接引
for
她
Buddha
去
to send your
天
mom
国
to
或者极乐世
paradise.
界，是吧？一般人
Dedication
他有
means
指
you
向
want
性的，
someone to
也
receive
就是说我
something.
做这份功德，
In
这
this
份功
case,
德就是
you
一种
want
慈悲
someone
的
to
能量，
receive the
哎，
merits
可以
you
这么理
just just
这个
earned.
事儿。
When you
回向
dedicate
的
your
这个指
merits
向
to
性
your mother,
是因为我母亲，
you
我
want her
对
to
母亲有
receive
这
your
样的一
merits
种
and the
愿望，
blessings that follow.
所以呢，希望做这件善事而产生的这个正能量，这个吉祥的能量，还给我的母亲。
That
这
makes
是很
sense,
合理的
and
一个
it's
心态
totally
是的。
acceptable. Buddha,
可是佛
on
在
the
这
other
儿正好
hand,
我们
has
说，
another
如
idea.
果我
If
们
the
做
earned
这些
merits
善
aren't
事的这个
dedicated
功
to
德
someone you know,
啊，不是回向给一个人，
but to
而
all
是回向
sentient
给众生
beings
的
or
话，
the Dharma realm,
或者是回向给法界的话，
you'll
那这
receive
个
even
功
more
德
merits
就
in
是极
return.
大的，
This
就
kind
像
of
一个
dedication
放大器
multiplies your
啊，
earned
它
merits
它
by
把这
several
功德一下
times.
放大了若干倍。
If
我
one
本来
good
是一
deed
份
gets you
功德，
one merit,
看得
you
见
may
可
earn a
数可
lot
清
more
的
when you
这个
dedicate
一
as
份功德，
such.
变成一个无量的功德。
How
还是
come?
说这是为什么呢？
This
所以
idea
我在
shows
思考
how insightful Buddha is.
我觉得这个佛陀的伟大哈，
With just
佛陀
one
是
dedication
叫
as
超级
such,
心灵
more
导师
people can be blessed.
这个回向就是一举多得。
When you
比如说
dedicate
我回向
merits
给我
to
的
your
母亲，
mother, only
如果
one
我们
person
在
receives
这
the
个角度从
merits.
一个人来说，
To
再
think
放
more
大一点，
broadly, we take
如果人生一直
reincarnation
在
and rebirth
生
into
灭的展
account.
示，对不对？
For
回
example,
向为
we
我的七
dedicate
世
the
的母亲，
merits to our
回
mother
向给
from
我的
7 different
七世的
lifetimes,
父母，
right? Can we go
回向给
further?
我所有
What
世
about
的
our
父母。
mothers from every lifetime? Can we be
看
a
到别
bit
人也
more
都孝敬自己的
broad-hearted
父母啊，
and
回向
dedicate
给
our
一
merits
切
to
母
all
亲，
mothers from all
一
lifetimes?
下就变大了。一切的母亲，我们
Speaking
一
of
般想的就是
mothers,
一切人类的母亲。
can we
那畜
also
类呢？
dedicate merits
就
to
我们这个
non-human
生成式
mothers?
是
In
今世
future
是人，下世可
lifetimes,
能是
we
牛，
could be
来世是
reborn
一
as
只鸡，
animals,
后来是一
right?
只羊，都是可能的呀，对不对？
In
意识的
fact,
生
you
生
could be
死死的转
reborn
世，
as any
成
life
不同的
form.
生命状态。
Next,
那个法
what do
界
we
是什
know
么呢？
about the Dharma
那
realm?
我所理解的呢，
It's the
通
realm
常
where
到佛
Buddha
菩
and the
萨这个境界，
Bodhisattvas live.
他的世界就叫法界。
The
所以
normal,
那个
original
佛身
form
即
of
是法，
Buddhas and
那叫
Bodhisattvas
法
is
身佛，
called Dharma
才是
form.
他的真身。
They
比如他
appear
来
in
到
human
人世
form
间
when
的
they
时候
come
呢，
to the human
报
world.
身，
They
他
take a
接引你这个
disguised
显象
form
的
when
叫
they
化
guide
身，
us to be
是这
reborn.
样子的。
How do
所
we
以这个
describe the
法
Buddha's
身反而
original
是
form?
他佛本有的真身。那这个真身是一种什么样的境界呢？
It's
是
hard
以
to
宇宙
describe.
当中
Let's
最
just
大的
say,
那个状态当中的那个真实。我没办法去来描述，没办法描述。
that it's
它
a
已经
form
就
that
是
is
不
not
属于在
bound by
六道
any
轮回
realm.
的那样的一种生命体，是超越的。
Let me
我再讲
explain
大一点
further.
呢，比
According
如
to
说
the
在佛经里经
sutras,
常说，
there are
你看这
countless
尊佛、那
Buddhas
尊
and
佛
they
是吧？
have their
无量
own
的佛，
realm.
无量的佛，每一尊佛都有自己的世界，对不对？
A
无
universe
量
with
的
all
佛
these
国
realms is what I call
综
the
合
Dharma
起
realm.
来，那个世界就是法界。
It
那
takes
这样
maybe
一
10
个
million
佛的
solar
这个世
systems
界，
to form a
是在
Buddha
太阳系
realm.
来说，可能1000万个太阳系才是一个佛国，就这么去比，
That's
它
the
是一个
size of a
非常
Buddha
巨大
realm.
的一种状态。
When
我们
people
里头
say they
分很多
refuse to
境
go
界，
to hell,
一般普通众生说：“哎，我死了不下地狱就行，是吧？
it
不
means
下
they
地狱可能
probably
在
want
人
to
道，
stay in the human realm
哎，
or the
也许到
paradise
天
realm.
道。
We're
所以
not
下
beings
三
of
道当中
hell,
有地狱，
the
还有
hungry
恶
ghost
鬼畜
realm
生。
or the animal
而
realm.
我们不在这下三道之中，
We're
我
in the
们可能
human
在人
realm.
道
We could
和人道
probably
以
be
上
reborn.
啊。
In the
这是一
Asura
般人的
realm
追
or the
求。那
paradise
么再
realm,
高尚一点的追求呢，
those
比
who vow
比
to
人道的
achieve
追求还要高的
enlightenment
时候，就
often
说
say,
让我
I
看
shall be
我，
enlightened due to my
让我
merits
积
and
功
be
累德，
free of all
来世
sufferings.
可能我做天人，是吧？我超越于说我们受苦的这样的生
A
命。那做
human's
人多
life
不
is
容易啊，
not
对不对？
easy. You
光
could
一个
suffer a
恋爱就把
lot
人
from
折磨得
just a
死去活来，
breakup.
对不对？所以
So,
我要超
how do
越。
you free yourself from all
但是
these
这些还
mortal
不够。
sufferings? How about
人修
practicing
成阿罗
until you
汉够
become
高
an
吗？
arhat?
有
You'd have
无欲
no
无求，
desires,
生
and you'd
命的状
live
态
way
那是
longer
也
than
是
a
修
mortal.
活多少年了？
If
这
that's
这
not
还不
enough,
够。
you can
我
aim
要活
higher
的
and
是
practice
法
until you
界的
reach
状
the
态，
Dharma realm.
那个
There,
状态
you
就是
shall
涅槃。
become an immortal.
那个
It
涅槃
means
不
you
是说
shall
而是
live
永
for
生的意思。
eternity. It also
涅槃那
means
个状
that
态，而
you
是说
have the
我的
ability
化
to
身
appear in any realm in a
能
disguised
随时出
form.
现在所有的世界。
This is the
那是一
highest
个就
state
是
in
佛跟
Buddhist
追求
practice.
的极致的状态。
The world
所以
of
在
Buddhism
佛
is
门
not
之
a
中，它
one-way
很理性啊，
universe, where
它
one
不是
world
说
is watched
一
over by
元化
only
的这个
one
世界，
God.
一个神一个世界这样。
The world
佛
of
说的
Buddhism
这个世界
features
是
more than
无
one
边
universe.
无际，
It has
还有
multiple
很多的
Buddha
佛国和
realms.
宇宙的世界。
Now you
知道了哈。
understand.
所
When
以
you
这个
dedicate your
回向
merits
给
to the
法界，
Dharma realm,
回向给你这么
your
回
merits
向
are
给全宇宙
dedicated to all known universes,
啊，不
not
是
just
爱
human
人类众
beings,
生，爱
but
所
all
有的众生的
beings.
意思。
That
无论
includes
是
all Buddhas,
神、佛、菩萨、
Bodhisattvas,
罗汉、
Arhats,
金刚、天
divine
人、
beings,
恶鬼、地狱、
ghosts,
畜生，一
animals,
切都能
etc.
算进。
This is
我
a
觉
good
得这样
idea.
去想是对的。
When you
所
do
以
a
就
good good
从我
deed,
们在做
such as
功德的
helping
时
to
候，
build a
不光
temple,
是面对的时候，我今天修了这个庙，
or
念了
printing
这个佛经
sutras,
之后，
don't
我
think
得什么
about what
好
you'll
处？
gain
不
first.
是，
Think
我要
about
把这份功
dedicating
德
your
回向给
merits to
所
all
有的一
beings
切
in
的
all
一切的
known
众生，
universes.
所有世界的众生，
That is
其实
one
也给
way
他
to
们变成一种
spiritually
心
communicate
灵
with
的
all beings.
沟通。
By
第二
doing
个
this,
是
you
对他们
also
的
learn how
关
to
照，
visualize
慈悲
compassion.
的关照，或者是慈悲的共鸣。
Great
还有不够
compassion
慈
is
悲的人，
inviting
希
others
望
to
我的
show
慈悲
their
能引
compassion
导
by
他们一
helping
起慈悲。
others.
这就叫做大慈大悲。
What did
将药
Medicine
师佛
Buddha
说
say? With
我
his
心
own
中燃起一
illumination,
盏光
he
明的灯
wishes to
将
illuminate
我
the
身
whole
体照
world
亮
and all
还将我的
beings,
世界照亮。我还要将一切的世界的众生都照亮，
so
让
that
每
they,
个众生
too,
变成
become
一
a
个超
source
级
of
的灯一样，再
illumination
将
that
所有
further
的世
lights
界的
up the
众生
whole
的
world and all
心和世
beings.
界照亮。
I call
这就
that
叫做
greater
大光。
illumination.
啊，
That's an
所以我
example
慈
that
悲我
shows
做
not
功
to
德，
keep
这
all
份功德
merits
是
to
属于
yourself,
所有的一切众生的，
but
而不
dedicate
是
them to
我
all
的。
beings.
所
All
有的母
mothers will
亲都能
receive these
获得如
merits.
此的功德呀！
Of
那是
course,
多么巨
the
大！
merits are huge. By introducing this idea, the Buddha taught us
度化
how
了
to
有这个
dedicate our
回向
merits
心
to
的
more
这个人啊，
beings.
对不对？
Learning
你自己的
this,
心
your
一下就
mind
提
state
升了。
is elevated.
从一个小
Before,
我
you
说，哎，
only
我跟
cared
我妈
about
超度，他
yourself
去
and
哪里
wanted
了？
to
天天打
benefit
电
your
话问
mother.
师傅，他去哪了？啊，
Now
所
you
以这时
think
候就不在
differently.
乎了，
You
一切的
dedicate your
众生
merits to all
都
sentient
能功德
beings,
无量，
so they
都
can
能
all
够
be
往极乐
reborn
世
in
界。
heaven,
啊，
including
是
your
这样子
mother.
的。
When you're
其实
doing
你在
good
做功德
deeds,
的时候，
you're
反而是
undergoing
被一种
transformation.
更高
You're
境界
achieving a
度
higher
化
level mental
感
state.
染的提升的这样一个难得的过程。
In
而这
sharing
个回向
merits,
是这个
you
好处，
become more humble and
把你的
compassionate.
慈悲心，
When your
本来
friend
是说，哎，
invites
这
you to
朋友叫我
refurbish a
来一起
temple and you
帮
agree
修
to
庙，
it,
说正好这2天休息，好
you
好
don't
来
care
修一修
about
吧。
merits
可
and the
是谁在
deity
里头
that's
供的
being
时候根本不
worshipped.
在乎
You
的，
just
就
want to
是
help,
帮我
that's
朋友来
all.
干活的，对不对？
You do
那你
gain
修完之后
merits,
有功
but do
德，
you care
但
how
是留给你
much?
的印象有多深呢？
Not
非常
really.
淡。
You don't
我去过
brag
哪个
about
庙
it.
吗？去
You
过，我就
just
帮他
tell
干过
people
活儿。
what you're
5点
doing
钟
when
了，
they
走了
ask you
不？
about it.
那你们
You're
有人
not
给你
even a
盒子没空，我
practitioner.
也不
You
炫，
just want to
你
help.
看就这样过去了。
If you've
说如
learned
果这样子，你
dedication
干脆
and
你把
dedicated
你
the
做这
merits
份
to all
慈
beings,
善事这个行为的这个功德，回向给宇宙众生呢？
will you
你还会
forget
淡
what
淡
you've
的过
done
去。
easily? Your
第一
mind
课
will
就
be
升华
elevated
了，
instantly.
从
You
一个
think
普
like a
通的凡人
bodhisattva
升成大
now,
菩萨，
not a layman.
甚至立刻
Immediate
成佛法，
enlightenment is
就是
possible
这样的一
because
种
your
境界。
mental state
这
is
是
ready.
佛
What does
为
Buddha
什么
mean
说你今
by
天听到讲这一段，你
today's
不能
lesson
成
will make
佛
you a
呢？
Buddha? Now
就
you
是这
know.
样的。
Because
真的
Buddha
苦
is
口婆
teaching
心，让
us
你一步登天，
how
一
to
刹那
achieve
成佛的
immediate
这个
enlightenment.
方法。
Master,
有的法
someone
友有点
asks
小
if we
小的
can
疑问
dedicate
啊，
our
就是说，
merit.
就是如果自己做的这个功德，
Even
其
though
实
it's
就是
just a
很小的
small
功
one.
德，一点点的功德，也可以去做这么大的回向呢。
Of
当
course,
然了，
you
比
can
如说我在
dedicate a
佛前
merit
献了一朵花，对不对？
as
也许
small
这个
as
花还
one
不贵，
gained from offering a
但是你
cheap
要有美
flower
好
to
的心
Buddha,
呐。
as
前
long
面
as
讲
you're
我不是
offering
讲
it out of
你供
sincerity,
佛的时候哈，
and you're
你不
not
能把
offering
脏的
something
不好
evil
的
or
东西供佛，对
filthy.
不对？
As
但
long
是
as
这
your
个花是
flower
干
is
净的，
clean
还
and
是
you
我亲
wish
手
for it
摘
to
的，
make Buddha
希望
happy,
啊佛看到这个花
you'll be
能够
fine.
打内心产生欢喜。
That's
内心
offering
慈
out of
悲，是吧？
sincerity. When
那
you
当你回
dedicate
向
your
的时候，
merits,
说
all
一切
beings
众
will be
生都
happy
能
and
欢喜，
liberated and earn
一切
Dharma
众
joy.
生都快乐，一切众生都解脱，一切众生都法喜充满。
对，
When the
这
merits
这
are
么一件
small,
小小的
dedicate
慈
them to
悲，
the
一
whole
个
world,
一下就放大到全世界去了。
and you'll
这
gain
个
a
功德
lot
就大
more
了，
in return.
所以
That
那就
speeds
成
your
佛之路
enlightenment
就来
too.
了。
That's how
所以这
important
个
merit
回向这个
dedication
心太
is.
重要了。
It is that awesome.
然后
Someone's
网友还
asking
有
how to
问，就是说
dedicate
怎么做
merits
的
the
更
right
如
way.
法哈？比如
Say,
说我们这
what
个
if we're
香之
earning
中
merits
啊，
from
我
our
念了
daily
佛，然
practice,
后又去
such
佛
as
前礼拜
chanting,
了，
doing
又去做了
prostrations
供
and
养。
making
就像比如说，
offerings?
如果我
In
们在禅
fact,
堂开
we
的时
do
候上
many
一堂
kinds
课
of
下来，
practices
可
in
能
a
有不
day
同
in
的
our
这个修行的
classes.
内容。
This
那
person
他
is
问的是
asking
说，
should he
那每
dedicate
件
it
事情
right
做完
after
之
a
后就回
practice,
向
or
呢，
wait
还是
until
到一
after
天结
everything
束的
is
时候一
over?
起回向呢？
It's up to
这个由
you.
自己决定
嗯，
啊。
It'll be
我觉
fine
得
as long as
有
you
时候你
remember
怕
to
忘
do
了，
your
比如
dedication.
说你说我到半夜我再回向，
Some
结
people
果一
forget
忙活
about
就
it
忘
and
了，
go straight to
要想
bed.
回向就睡着了，是吧？
Dedication and earning merits can happen at the same time. It's all up in your mind. When you offer incense sticks, you can think of dedicating the merits from your offering to the whole world. See, it doesn't slow you down at all. Let me share what I think. At the end of the chapter, Buddha mentioned something like, sharing gets you more in return. I'm a bit emotional, because we're also told the same by Master. Master, could you explain how dedicating our merits gets us more merits in return? So what I've always told you is written in the sutra. I never read this sutra when I was little. When I read this, I was surprised to see that what my master always said was in it. What a coincidence. It's like offering $1 and getting $10,000 in
比如说
return.
你奉献了，按钱来说是奉献了1块钱，但是你得到的福报呢是1万块钱以上。
That's not even that much. Is a million, 100 million, or a billion possible? Why not? The Buddha is offering such a chance for us to gain more merits.
留下来这个叫做功德增长的余地是巨大的。对，
I'm just using the dollar analogy to help you understand better.
直接一种总结。
But that's how it
我们讲它真正
works.
的这个意义就是这样。
Do
你
we,
想
humans, desire
我们对于
wealth,
普通人
wisdom, and
你想富贵
liberation?
吗？你想智慧吗？
By
你想解
liberation,
脱吗？
I don't mean immediate
我说的解
enlightenment.
脱不一定说迅速成佛哈。
It could be
你的
liberation
人生
from
的
your
烦恼之中
obstacles and
解脱
afflictions.
不被烦恼障碍，对吧？
You want
想
that,
吧哈，
right?
这是
With
看起来很
merit
具体，对不对？
dedication, all these are
其实
possible.
做这些功德就能获得这样的作用。
Do you
所
get
以
more
这个
money
水
as
月得
well?
万的这个万，它都化成金钱嘛，
Wealth is
含有
part of
金
the
钱财
rewards.
富的这个部分。
But there
但
are
是
things
还有
more
很多东
important
西
than
比
money
金
in
钱
life.
还要重要，还要实用的东西。
For
比如说
example,
安定的
calm,
心、
peace,
安定的
wisdom,
情
a
绪
safe living environment,
啊，智
etc.
慧的大脑，使你居住的环境都是平安幸福的。
These
这
could be
这都
your
是功德，
non-monetary
功德
rewards.
福报来着。
The
所以
rewarded
水月得
blessings
万的
could
这个
even
范
keep
围
coming in
都
your
是
next
人生
lifetime.
当中啊，甚至是跨世纪的。比如说我说的世纪是指生命的轮回世纪。
That
比如
means
说我
you're
这一
blessed
世
in this and also your
基本
next
吉祥，
lifetime.
我来世还吉祥。
What about
那
the
么
next
1000
1000
世还是
lifetimes?
吉祥的。
Why
你知
not?
道修
When a
佛法的人
practitioner reaches a
稍
very
微
high
高一点的
level,
境界，
all
有一种
places
境
in
界
10
就是
directions
只要
from
他
where he
在，
stands
那里
are
的十方福
auspiciously
利都是吉
blessed.
祥。
In
在中
ancient
国远古
China,
传
there
说，
was the legend
比如
of
说
3 emperors
远
and
古
5
时期不有
sovereigns.
三皇五帝嘛，是吧？
The 3
三皇，
emperors were
第一个
Yao,
皇叫
Shun,
尧，
and
第
Yu.
二个皇就是叫舜，第三个叫禹。
Yao was
叫
the
尧的这
ancestor
个
of
我
all
们的祖先
emperors.
皇帝呢，
His
他的几
ministers
个大臣
said,
就说
"You're
你
the
是皇帝，
emperor. You're
你
good
的
at
法力高
management
强，
and
武
defense,
功高
and
强，
you
对人都
treat
好，对不
people
对？
well. Let
你
your
应该传给
son
你
be
的
your
孩子。
successor. Your
有几个
eldest
大臣就
son
说我
can
们推荐你
succeed
大
you."
儿子。
I'll just
我说的不是
simplify the
原文的意
story,
思了，但是
okay?
大
It
概就是说，
appears
哎，
that the eldest
大儿
son
子
was dumb.
太愚笨，
The
是吧？
second
二儿
son
子
was
看花
cunning,
头，
and the
三儿
youngest
子
son
太
was
贪小
obsessed
利益，
with petty
是
advantages.
这
None
些
of
都
them
不
were
是成
emperor
为一
material.
代帝王的这样的人才，
Yao
这
just
教
gave
都
up
教不
on
出
his
来，说不
sons.
行。
He
所以我不
decided
能
that
在
his
自己的孩
sons
子中
would
学。
not succeed him.
他说
He
呢，
then asked his
我
ministers
呢
to look
希
for
望说
his
你们到天
successor
下给我
among
推
his
荐
commoners.
优秀的人才，将来能接我的班儿，
He
成
wanted
为
someone
利
who
益
would
我们这
benefit
个
all
众生的
sentient
皇帝。
beings.
对，
Every
他们每
year,
年都有
new
人找到一些
candidates
人
would
才
be
推荐。
shortlisted. One
但是
day,
有一
they
次有一
found
个人推
Shun.
荐了一个人，叫做舜啊，
He was
但
good
是这
looking.
个舜长得也还可以，是吧？那
Capable
个时候挺
people
能干
are
的
all
人才有
good
很多都
looking.
长得挺帅的哈。
As a
你为了
test,
考验你
he
的
was
先
brought
天的
to a
能力，
forest
是吧？
and left there alone
先给
for a
他
few
放到了一
years.
个森林里头，这个森林是一个大团队拿着兵器进去之后，就把他一个人放进去了。那么让他几年之后出
When
来，
his
等出来的
trial
时
was
候，
over,
这个
he
舜
came out with
带
lots
着
of
很多动物
animals.
出来了。
At that
那个时
time,
候啊，
there was
很
no
多动物，
such
比如说
thing as
牛、
livestock.
羊、
Cows,
猪、
goats,
鸡、
pigs,
鸭、
chickens were
鹅，
hunted,
很多是
not
没有人
raised
驯化
and
的，
bred.
都是
In
野生的。
short, all
可是呢，
animals were
就从
wild.
舜
When
开
he
始
was
养起，
alone in the
把它放到
forest,
森
he
林里，对
kept
不对？
animals as
那
pets.
时候
At
狗
the
也
end
出
of
来
his
了，
trial, he
那
got
个狗是
himself
野
some
狗
new
嘛，跟着
pets,
它，野猪跟着它出来啊，
such as
野羊
dogs,
啊，
pigs,
对，
etc.
这些东西很多一大堆跟着出来了，
He's
就
the
开始了
pioneer
养
of
殖。
pet keeping.
我说这
Awesome.
个不得了，说厉害，说
Shun's
还不
trial
够，
was
还
far
继续
from
考
over.
验
He was
啊，
then
给
left
他放到
alone in
北
the
方的
drought-hit
干旱的
wasteland
地
in the
方，
north. That's
就是
where
现在
today's
就是河北
Xingtai,
省的那
Hebei
个
is.
邢台
Near
邯郸
Handan.
附近。
In
当
ancient
时啊，
times,
在
that
远
was
古
where
时
the
期，
Yellow River
黄河
burst
决
its
堤就冲
bank.
那里嘛，
There was
全是
nothing
小
but
沙
a
漠，
big patch of
根本没有
desert.
种植，也没有人烟，
Shun
好，给
was
他发
left
布在那儿
alone
去，
there
说
for
你到
3
那儿
years.
待3年再说。
Knowing
但是
how
呢，
remarkable
这个
Shun
皇帝已经
was,
看到他挺厉害的，
Emperor
就把
Yao had
当时自
gifted
己
him
的
his
有
2
2个女儿，
daughters as Shun's
赐给他
wives.
给他当太太，给你帮个忙吧，
There,
干个家务活
Shun
儿
was
啥的。
going to start his trial with his 2 wives. He tried farming, but nothing grew. After studying the soil, he decided to start making porcelain.
烧陶瓷，
His ceramic
的人最后
bowls,
变成什么？
pots,
在那
and
里
water
去批发
containers became
他
famous.
烧制的锅碗瓢
The
盆大水缸。
passers-by were buying
那个时
in
候陶
bulk.
器比较少，
Ceramics were
还有
rare,
烧这
so
个
his
卖。
business was good.
这个
Emperor
皇
Yao
帝就
knew
已经
that
预
he'd
言
turn the
过，说
wasteland into a
这个人
prospering city.
曾经住过的地方，未来都会成为大都会。
The
这就
emperor
是
knew
圣
what
人。
Shun was,
圣人
a
住过
great
的地方，
sage.
未来都会
Wherever they
飞
set
黄
foot,
腾达，
that
非常
place
的
would
兴旺
prosper.
繁荣，就是这样。
In
所以
ancient
呢，
times,
在
people
古代
learned
人
from
类都是
observing
共
their
同观察出来
surroundings.
的这样的结果，对不对？
Usually,
一个大
a
慈大
place
悲
which
的
a
人，
great
在一个
compassionate
地方
person
的时
lives
候，这个
in
地
will
方
not
没有
experience
太大的
serious
灾难，
natural
就特别吉
disasters.
祥。
That place is usually
对，
auspiciously
这是一种
blessed.
慈
Great
悲吉祥的
compassionate
场，
people are
就
good
把这一块
disaster
儿这些
repellers.
灾难都给压下来了，
Thanks to
以
the
他的
merits
功
they
德就把它
carry.
抵消掉了。
This is
所以
what
我们
merit
舍一得嘛，
dedication
这是
brings.
最基本的道理。
I'm
所以我
trying to
刚才
make
讲
it
的很
easy
俗，
for you.
就你想
Everyone
解
wants
脱嘛？
liberation and wealth.
你想富贵吗？
I
我
wish
觉得我
everyone
希
could
望
be
众生
wealthy.
都富贵啊！
People
但
write
总
to
是
me
有人
all
给
the
我写
time
说，我要
saying
找
they
对象，
want
我
a
要找
job
工作，
or
对
a
不对？
partner. Keep
你
doing
好
good
好做些
deeds.
功德，
Don't be
但是别
greedy.
贪求，还要实在。
Be practical.
你
Just
将来你
wait for
发
your
财的机会
chance,
就来
and
了。
you'll become
你
rich.
不要说，
There's
今
no
天找工
such
作不好
thing
找。
as hard to get
凡
a
是有
job.
生命的
As
时
long as
间，
you have
你有
enough
那份功
merits,
德哈，
you can get
到
a
任
job
何时间
anytime.
哈，你都能找到好工作。
When you're
该发
destined
财
to
的时
get
候，不管
rich,
这个社会
money
多
will
困难，
come
你
your
都是
way,
会。
regardless
就
of
这
how
样。
tough things
像
get.
佛经里
That's what
讲
the
的这个样
sutras
子，
say.
我
I
本
fully
人
agree with
是
this.
非常非常的认同的啊。
I'm the
我拿
best
我自己
example
为例来
around.
说哈，
I
就
couldn't
是
even
我小
talk
时候，
properly at the
其
age
实
of
我在
10.
到了7、8岁、10来岁，我说话都是不清楚的，
My
很多字
pronunciation
我
was
都咬
bad.
不清楚字，很多字说不出来。
Want to
让我成
embarrass
天的
me?
说话，那简
Easy.
直是
Just let me
那
talk.
就逼死我了。
For
不可
me,
能的事。
talking was that hard.
到我
What
修
did
行
I
到
do?
有一
I
天的
just
时候，
practiced,
我就
and
上课
today
讲
I'm
法，
giving lessons to
我可以
you.
这样讲，
I
口
can
若悬
talk
河
for
的讲
6
6
to
个小
8
时、8 个
hours
小
straight
时，
with no
我们可以
repeated
一直讲下
content.
去
You know.
啊，内容不会重复。
This
这个是
wisdom
什
I
么呢？
have is gifted by Buddha.
不是个人智慧，这是佛菩萨给的，
Let's
佛
just
菩
call it
萨
an
加
empowerment.
持之后，摸顶之后给的。
We should
所以
never
当
judge the Buddha's
佛
blessings,
神
because
给
our
你
wisdom is too
那
limited,
些
and
不可
we're
思议
too
的东西的时
narrow-minded.
候，我们没有办法用人的眼光和智慧来评判它。
There's no
所以大
word
家
to
在那些修
describe
行
the blessings
做功德，
obtained from our
我们所
practices
获
and our
得的
good deeds.
这样的就是不可思议的收益哈，
Even
就叫
science
不可
can't
思议，
explain that.
没办法说。
I
我们在
study
研究
Buddhism
佛法，
more
不
than
光自
just
己
how
受
I
益，
benefit from
从
it.
佛教
I
发展的
study
历
the
史
history of Buddhism,
啊，
its
到
application in
到
the
今
modern
天，
world,
到走向社会，
how
到
it's
大家的
received
反
by
应，
people,
到
its
佛学
criticisms,
思想的变
etc.
化，我都去研究它。
I
但是
prefer to
更多的
study
研
its
究是灵性
spiritual
的感悟，
influences.
而
Do
不
I
是说
write a
像
thesis
学术
about
界
it?
的那种讨论。
No.
学术界的讨
I
论
don't
几乎
find
都
it
是
fun to
在
refute
纸
other
面上的
scholars'
这样的
views
讨
and
论，
research
就
to
看谁
prove
看
my
的历史
point.
资料更多而已。
It's
其实没什么
meaningless,
讨
and
论，
it's not
就是
worth
没
my
有思
time.
路型讨论，是没有意义的。
I
所
try
以我
not
在
to
给大
sound
家
too
平常
academic in my
所表达的
lessons.
佛法的时候，
I
都
use
是很
terms
清
that you
淡
use every day to
啊，
make
也让
understanding
人也听起
easier.
来容易接受的。
The
但是
seniors
深入
think
学
it's
习佛
too
法的人
shallow
就觉
for
得，哎，
them.
我讲的太清淡了。
If I
因为
went
讲
too
重了，一
deep,
般大家
it'd
会
turn
反感。
people away.
所以今
That's
天我
how
讲
I
的佛
explain
经，
the
佛经就是
content
这
of
么
the
讲的，
sutras.
我只
I
能如
use
实的
simple
告诉
terms,
大家
and
就
I
是。
try to be as accurate as
那里面这
possible.
些
I've seen how
受益和功德，
practitioners have
我
benefited
不
from
是
their
见证的，
practices.
也
There's
只能
only
说是
one
叫
word to
化
describe
腐
it:
朽为神奇。
miraculous. If you've
啊，真
practiced
正
Buddha Dharma
好好修
before,
行过佛法的人，
you'd
最
agree
终
with
的
me
见
when
证
you
的总结那
experience
句
your
话是：化腐
transformation.
朽为神奇。
Look at
从我
me.
个人来说，
I
我
was
就是个
born
腐
weak
朽
and
的。
frail. I
我
talked
既不
with
能
bad
说，又不能做，身体
pronunciation,
又差，
and my grades were
啊，学
also
历又低。
bad. What I
其
am
实今
today
天我
is
能
way
说能做
opposite
的，
from what I
远远
used to
超越了
be.
我本有的知识了，远远的超越了。
I've helped
今天我们帮助
professors,
过的人，
elites, and other highly
从
educated
知识
people.
分子来说，从教授、博士，
These
我跟
people
我
are
们学的
also
人几乎
learning
都是
from
比我们
me.
高学历的人。
There's no
所以
word to describe how
佛法
incredible
的
Buddhism
它的
is.
神奇性，我们实在不可思量的。
It's so
就是
awesome that
化
it
腐
makes
朽
a
为神奇，
flower bloom out of a piece of
枯
dead
木
wood.
开花，哎，
Incredible,
可思议。
right? You will
所以你相信
experience
我的话的
miracles
话，
too, if you
你
do what
也
I
跟着
tell
我
you to
去
do.
学着去做，都是可以的，
That's all for
那
today's
今天
sutra
我们这
explanation
个
lesson.
经典的这个解释就到这里吧哈。
Let's
好，
put
我
our
们所有
palms
人合
together
十
with
哈，
reverence.
恭敬合十啊。
Repeat
我们
after
先
me.
跟我一起说哈。
With
恭
reverence,
敬
I
感
am
恩
grateful to you. Earth
地
Store
藏王菩萨。
Bodhisattva.
南
Sakyamuni
无
Buddha.
本师释迦牟尼佛。
Guanyin
南无观世
Bodhisattva.
音菩萨。
Earth
南
Store
无地藏王
Bodhisattva.
菩萨。
Namo
南
Amitabha
无
Buddha.
阿弥陀佛。
Great
南无
Compassionate
大慈
Medicine
大悲
Buddha.
药师佛。
I dedicate the
愿
merits
以
from
今
today's
天
lesson
讲经的功德，
to all
回
beings
向
in the
给
universe,
世界、宇宙世界一切的众生，
or
回
should
向
I
给
say,
整个宇宙。
to everything in the
不仅是
whole
众生，
universe,
回向
not
给
just
整
the
个宇宙。
beings. I wish
愿
the
全
world
世
and
界，
universe
愿
peace
全宇
and
宙
auspiciousness.
吉祥平安。
Think like
后一
me
起
and you
想的
shall
人呢，
receive
我
immeasurable
们得到的
merits.
功德与福报就会更大。
Thank you, Master.
对，
From
希
now
望大家
onward,
以后
when
哈
you're about to
啊，
have
每天在吃饭的时候，
your
尤
first
其
meal of
是
the
吃早
day,
餐的时候啊，因为是一天第一次吃饭嘛啊，哎，
make a
希
wish
望
and wish for
天下
everyone to be
一切
blessed
众
with
生
enough food.
都有饭吃
Yes,
啊，要去
that's
这样
it.
想啊。
Before
我要
you
睡
go
觉
to
的时
bed,
候啊，
wish
愿
that
天下
everyone
众
is
生
blessed
都有
with a
房住，
shelter and a bed to sleep in.
都有床来睡觉。对，
When you're
有这样的
grateful,
感恩
you're
心的
going
时
to
候，我们
sleep
睡
without
得
worries.
会踏实，会相对坦然一点，知道吗？
When you
当时我
desire
都是
too
用
much
我
and
的
keep
七
complaining
情
about
六
what you
欲的
don't
心，
have,
总觉得我怎么少这个，我
before
怎么
going
缺
to
那个，我怎么
bed,
求不
you're
到那
not
个东
going
西
to
的时
sleep
候，
well.
用这样一种求的欲望的心的时候，就让我们睡不好觉。
It's the
就让我们
same
担
when you
忧恐
worry
惧
or
的心
fear
的时
too
候，
much.
更睡不好觉。
You'll
但
sleep
用
well when you
这种
show
祈祷和
gratitude
感
for
恩
what
的
you
心的时
have.
候，我们睡得更好。
Expressing
又会有功德，
gratitude brings
甚
merits.
至一
The
切
ghosts and
鬼神菩
bodhisattvas
萨
will
都
bless you
会
too.
护佑我们的。
Thank you, Master.
那今天
Today,
呢，我们
we'll
继
be
续
going
学
through the
习
first part
地
of
藏
Chapter
经的
11.
第11品啊。现
The
在呢，还
assembly at
是
the
在
Trayastrimsa heaven wasn't over yet.
讲地藏经的刀立天宫的这个法会现场。这时
There was a
啊，
deity
有个
called
监牢
Prithvi.
地神，坚
Who
固
is
的
this
坚，
deity,
这个
and
牢
what
固
does
的
he do?
牢，这是
Prithvi
这个
is the
地
name of
神的
solid
名
earth
字。
deity.
这是一
This
尊
deity
掌
watches
控
over
地
all
球
lands on
大地的
earth.
地神啊，
At
这是
that
不得了
time,
的哈。
Thivi said to
那
the
么监
Buddha,
牢地神呢，恭敬
World
地
honored
对
one,
佛就
since
说
a
呀：
long time
世尊，
past,
我
I
从
have
过
gazed,
去
paid
这
reverence,
个
and
久远以
prostrated
来呀，
to
瞻仰
countless
顶礼了
bodhisattva
无
mahasattvas.
量的菩萨们。这
All of
些
them have
大菩
great,
萨们呢，都具有
inconceivable
很大的
supernormal
不可
power
思议
and
的
wisdom.
神通和智慧啊，
All
一
of
直
them
在
liberate
普度
sentient
众生。
beings.
对于
Among the
其他菩萨来
bodhisattvas,
讲呢，地
Earth
藏
Store
王菩萨
Bodhisattva
所
has
发的
made
誓愿呢，
particularly
就是
profound
最大
vows.
最深重的。世
World
尊，
honored one,
这位
Earth
地藏
Store
王菩萨
Bodhisattva has
跟
a great
我们的
karmic
地球的
connection
这
with
个
the
众生
sentient
呢，
beings on
有
Earth.
极大的因缘。
Other
像文殊
bodhisattvas,
菩萨、
such as
普贤
Manjusri,
菩萨、观音
Samantabhadra,
菩萨、弥勒菩
Avalokiteshvara,
萨
and
一样，
Maitreya,
化
also
现
transform
数
into
不清的
thousands
哈
of
无量的
forms
化
to
身，
liberate
在这
those
个
in the
六
six
道轮
realms
回
of
救度众
samsara.
生。但这些
However,
菩
their
萨呢
vows
的
will
誓愿
ultimately
都
come to
会有一个
completion.
圆满终结的日子。可
Earth
是
Store
这位
Bodhisattva
地
has
藏王
vowed to
菩萨
teach and
教化
transform
六
all
道的
sentient
众生啊，
beings.
发下的誓愿啊，要
Throughout
在
eons as
无
numerous
数
as
无量的
grains of
时空
sand.
之中，
In
恒久的
millions of
利益众生。
Ganges
这里就
rivers,
要讲
let
一
me
下哈，
explain here.
我们
Most
一
people
般
think about the
我
country in
你
which
比如
they
说作为
live when
中国人
talking
好，
about
作
the
为美国
world.
人也好啊，对，作为新加坡人，
For
你一想到
example,
的世界就是你
Chinese
那
would
个国
think the
家。
world is as big as
心再
China.
大一点
Some
的
have
想
a
着整
bigger
个地球，
worldview, thinking
那
Earth
么
is
在
the
这个
whole
环境
world.
当中有
Hell
一个地狱，
exists in this
对，
environment.
但是
Here,
这里
in
的
this sutra,
啊，
the
这个
world
监牢地
Prithvi
神说的
refers to is beyond
这个世
Earth.
界哈，不是地球这一唯一的一个时空。
It's a world with multiple universes and the 6 realms of samsara. According to the Buddha's teachings in sutras, there are countless worlds like ours in the universe. Scientists and space explorers have been exploring the universe, hoping to find systems similar to our solar system. Have they found any? No. It's hard with our current technology. In the distant future, technology will be more advanced. Perhaps one day, people will find another space with an environment similar to Earth. Prithvi says that the aforementioned bodhisattvas once vowed to liberate sentient beings in the 6 realms. Among the vows made by these bodhisattvas, Earth Store Bodhisattva was on another level. He vowed to liberate the beings in hell, as well as the ones in the animal realm and the realm of hungry ghosts. Why? Because it's almost impossible to empty these realms. The Ghost King mentioned earlier. Many beings in hell have been saved to be reborn in paradise, but these beings commit sin and just fall back into hell again. While in hell, they get liberated again as they repent, or they get liberated as their family does good deeds. Some beings were free temporarily when the Buddha opened the gates of hell. After living a happy life for a while, they forgot to behave. They repeat the same mistakes that got them to hell. Then, they go back to hell again. That's why it's impossible to empty hell. When you send 200 million beings to paradise, another 300 million will come to hell. That's how it is. It's like playing on the slide. Sliding down is easier than climbing up. In this case, going to hell is easier than going to paradise. Earth Store Bodhisattva hasn't got time to achieve enlightenment, because he's too busy emptying hell. It's a never-ending task, but it promises immeasurable merits in return. Prithvi then said, "World-honored one, I observe that present and future sentient beings may find a pure place in the south side of their residences and build a shrine or place of worship with clay, stone, bamboo, or wood. After they've built such places, they may sculpt the statues or paint the images of Earth Store Bodhisattva, using gold, silver, bronze, or iron. They may burn incense, make offerings, gaze, pay reverence, and sing his praises. Such people will gain 10 kinds of benefits around their residences. What are the 10 benefits? Prithvi said. 1. Their lands will be fertile. 2. Their families and homes will forever be in peace. 3. Their deceased ancestors will be reborn in the heavens. 4. The living will enjoy ever greater longevity. 5. Their wishes will be fulfilled. 6. They will not suffer disasters of flood or fire. 7. Events that waste money or resources will not happen. 8. They will not have nightmares. Never underestimate your nightmares. People think dreams are just to make sleeping more interesting. We'll talk about this later. 9. They will be protected by deities in their daily activities. 10. They will encounter many causes for holiness. Prithvi then said, "World-honored one, if sentient beings in the present and future can make offerings in their residences in such ways, they will gain these 10 benefits. Prithvi then further said, World-honored one, in the future, there may be kind men and kind women who have this Bodhisattva Sutra and image in their residences. If these people can read this sutra and make offerings to the Bodhisattva, I will always use my divine power to protect them day and night. I will eliminate flood, fire, robbery, theft, major calamities, minor calamities, and all harmful events for them. The Buddha told solid earth deity, few deities can match your great divine power. Why is this? You protect all the land of this realm. The grasses, trees, sand, stones, cereal crops, hemp plants, bamboo, reeds, grain, and treasures, all of it comes from the earth because of your power. Moreover, you frequently praise the beneficial deeds of Earth Store Bodhisattva. Your merits, virtues, and powers are thousands of times greater than that of average earth deities. In the future, there may be kind people who make offerings to this Bodhisattva and read this sutra. As long as they cultivate and practice according to even one aspect of the sutra, you should use your divine power to protect them. Do not allow any disasters to even reach their ears, much less experiencing it themselves. You will not be alone in protecting them. Sakra, Brahma, other deities, heavenly beings, and their retinues will all support and protect such people. Why are these people being protected by so many deities? It is because they respectfully gazed at and paid reverence to Earth Store Bodhisattva's image and read the Earth Store Bodhisattva's vow sutra. Naturally, their sufferings will end, and they will achieve Buddhahood. Therefore, they will receive great support and protection. That's the end of chapter 11. Thank you, Master, for telling us about Prithvi, the solid earth deity. The sutra mentions that worshipping paintings or building statues of Earth Store Bodhisattva brings the mentioned 10 benefits. Master, please further explain how we can benefit from these blessings. Alright, let's look at the first benefit, fertile lands. Who benefits the most from this? Farmers, right? Land fertility is important, especially to people living in the countryside. Owning a piece of land is as important as keeping it fertile. There are many unbelievable stories when it comes to lands for farming. Like what? Say, 2 pieces of land side by side, but only one is watered and rained on. When this happens, for sure the land that's rained on is more fertile. The more fertile your land is, the more healthy crops you can harvest. I've seen this situation. Like I said, 2 pieces of land side by side, but only one is watered and rained on. I've actually seen this phenomenon. The rain could get so heavy that it washes away crops and even the soil. When the soil is washed away, where can you find your crops? Not every piece of land is suitable for growing crops. A land with a plowing depth of about 60 centimeters is good enough for farming. Why? Because decayed plants turn into fertilizers, and that's as deep as they go. That's why you only plow your land 60 centimeters deep. That's the depth for farming. When this layer is washed away, what can you do with the layer underneath? It's a fresh layer. You can build a statue on it, but it's not suitable for farming. It's hard growing crops in this layer. These are just some interesting facts on farming lands. If you're
你幸运
lucky,
的话
your land could
啊
stay
30
fertile
年
for 30
这个土地
years.
长东西都很好。就在这幸运之中，有的
Some
人有一
families
年
had
有
rotten
该
luck.
倒霉的时候，他
They
这也
hadn't
没有什
encountered a
么
heavy rain or
有
drought.
雨水把它冲跑啊，或者不下雨啊，
They
雨水
had
都可
proper
以。
rainwater,
农
and
药
they
施肥
sprayed
都可以。
insecticide and manured
但是
properly, but their crops just
不
wouldn't
种啥
grow.
就啥不长。
Why
因为
is
在写
having
经的时
fertile
候啊
lands a blessing?
全世
At
界
the time this
都是
sutra
处
was
在荒
written,
蛮时
people
期
of
或
the
者农业
ancient
时代。
world were still hunting for
文明的
food.
国家，像
Some
中国人
civilized
3000年
countries
前
were
就有
into
农耕，对不对？
agriculture,
它算
such
比
as
较文明
ancient
的。
China.
那不
What
文
did the
明的
less civilized people
正
do
拿
to
着个大
eat?
棍子追野兽呢，啊，
They
追
went
追野
hunting
猪、
for
追野驴之
food,
类的，就是
right?
这样的。它
What a
是那样的一
primitive
个
way
原
to
始的一个
survive.
状态。如果有
So,
计划
at
的
that
拿这个
time,
植物来
if
种
crops were
啊，那
growing
个
well,
它就保
people
证了
wouldn't
他
be
们的这个
starving.
粮食饮食问题。所以在写
2,000
这个
years
经的时
ago,
候呢，
having
在
fertile
2000年
land
前的
was
时候，
indeed a
你的土
blessing.
地是好的，
It
才有
means
饭吃。
people wouldn't be starving.
那么今天
Today,
有很多
most
人
of
来
you
听经
present
的
here
人就
may
说，
say,
那我
I'm
不
not
是
a
农民，
farmer.
对不
Why
起，
should I
我
care?
今天你无
Having
论是
fertile
工人，
land means
在
more
城
than
市里
just
的
food.
生活的所有的人，这里就
Apart
意
from
味着
having
你的
enough
基本收
food,
入，
it also means
收入
financial
比较丰
security,
厚，你
which
才能保证
guarantees
全
the
家有
food
饭
and
吃，
house for your
有房住
family.
呀。那么在
Living in
城
a
市里头，你
city,
不
a
种地，
job
说
is your
你该你
financial
倒霉的时候
source.
就失
When
业
you're
了，
unlucky,
连着
you'll
找工
lose
作
your
找不
job
到。
and can't find one
你看，
quickly. I remember
在
seeing a video of
08
people
年，
being interviewed.
08年的时候，美国不是有那一次那个经济危机嘛？当时
During the
很多电视台就采
2008
访一些
economic
失
crisis,
业的人那个狼狈的状况。有
there
一
was
对
an
美国夫
American
妻，
couple with 4 kids.
他们呢带着4个孩子呢，
They
住
lived
在
in
那
a
个
camper
旅
van.
行车里头。一
They
个大的
lost their
房车
house
看到
as they
房子，
couldn't pay their
他们的房
mortgage.
呢就被银行收走了。那么
Before
他
the
们过去2
economic
口子哈，
crisis, they
那
both
么
were
2个人
working.
加起来呢，差不
They
多20万
together
美
earned
金，
around
在美国算是不
$200,000
低了吧，是
monthly.
吧？
Not bad.
嗯，
The
可是
lady
呢，
wept when my husband
他
lost
是
his
说
job.
这个女的就哭着说，我老公失业了，就
Our
变成
family
只有
income was
1半收
down
入
to
了，是吧？就是变成10万美
$100,000.
金了，应该
That was
也
enough
过得
for
不错
daily
吧？他
expenses,
说
but
也
not
还
their
行，
house
但是
loan.
我们房子就被银行收走了，付不起这个贷款。
The
那记者就
reporter
问啊，
asked,
你
Why are your
你们家
monthly
还开
expenses
销也
that
不小啊？
huge?
他说
She
我也不
answered,
大呀，
It's not
你看，
huge. Their car loan was about
我有个跑车，每个
$1,200
月
per month.
1200，
Then,
我
their
有一
yacht
艘
cost
船，
them
每个月
$800 for
付
its
800，
docking fee.
那个停船费800。
They
我还
had
养
2
2只狗，
dogs, so
请
they
人
spent
打
on
理，还
dog
买狗
food
食，
and a dog sitter.
我还
The
买了一个，
camper
你看现在
van was
我现在
bought
住这个车了
because
嘛，这
they
个房
planned
子
to
说
go
我
on
们预备每
vacation
年
at
出去
least
住上
twice a
2次，
year.
结
The
果就
van
这样没
then
有成，结
became
果我
their
们全
new
家搬进
home.
来了，
The
因为我们
bank
的房子被收
repossessed
走
their
了，
house.
所以
The
我这个
bank
车
loan for
每
the
个月
van
付
was
600。那有
$600
些
per
青年人
month.
呢，他
The
没
younger
吃过经
generation
济的
has
苦，
no idea
没遇
what
到
an
过真正的
economic
经济危
crisis
机
is
哈。
like. I
所以我
just
讲到这
told
个
you what
反
it's
面的
like.
时候，大家
Try
就会
to
有感
imagine
受，
it.
对吧？
嗯，
你立刻你
Imagine
没
no
有饭吃怎
food,
么办？
no
你
job,
失
and
业之
no
后立刻
place
连
to
房都没
stay.
有，就算你不浪费，如
To
果2个人都
some,
失业了，
being out of a job
立
means
刻可
no
能就没
food to
房住
eat.
了，没饭吃了啊，很
That's a
麻烦。
big problem.
好，我
In
们第一
short,
件事情
land
大概
fertility
讲这
is
么
a
多
symbol
哈，
of wealth
所
and
以就是你
food.
的收入、吃饭问题特别重要。第二个
2.
问题呢，
Their
现
families
在
and
永安
homes will
啊，
forever
我
be
们
in
所有的网
peace.
友听
Most
众
of you may
听了
not relate
觉
this
得这
benefit
有
to
什么事
yourself
儿，
at
与我有什么
first.
关系啊？但是我
Imagine
反过
this
来说就与你
scenario.
有关系了，是
You
吧？
hear a knock at
如果你半
midnight.
夜起
You
来
get up
就
to
听见有
open the
人敲
door,
门，一
but
开
there's
门没有
nobody
人，
there.
但是
You
关上门
close
之后
the
立刻
door,
又有人
but
敲
hear a
门，
knock
你
again.
一开
You
门再
open
进
it
有鬼影
again,
子。
and a ghost
还
gets
睡
in.
觉的时候把你
You're
从床上扔
pushed
下来，
out of your
但是
bed
确
while
实没有具体的
sleeping,
人把
but
你
no
扔下来，
person
是
actually
吧？
did that.
洗澡的时候
Or,
给你搓
while
背，
taking
一
a
看后头
shower,
没人，
you feel
你
someone
看到
touch
哪
your
总有个
back,
东西在爬
or
过去，
you see
就
something
像是很
creep
真
in
实
front of you. It feels real, but it's like a silhouette. That means your home isn't peaceful. The evil in your home won't leave you alone. Until they see blood, the more you see this evil, the more likely that bad things are going to happen. I mean bad things such as injuries, when you lack the merits to protect yourself from evil in your home.
还有邪魔捣乱，有时候他
You could sustain life-changing injuries, or even die when
他当
attacked.
伤害到你的时候，你这一生就废掉了。
A
从一个正
child
常
could
的
be
孩子
bedridden
到会
forever,
变成一
or
个
even
残疾
die.
的孩子，甚至是早早夭折。他哪一天把你吞掉，就是立即失去生命，这
It's
是很
typical.
正常的。是吧？
There are
今天网
video
络时代
clips
这么
of
发达，
supernatural events everywhere.
这我经常会看到了那个
For
德国人一个
example,
厨房里头
spoons and forks flying
这
around in the
个他们家
kitchen.
的餐具就飞出来。
I
我还
saw
看到一
another
个呢，
video.
也是一个西方人哈，我不
It
知道哪个
happened
国
in
家
one
的
of the Western
他家那
countries,
个
I think.
厨房
The
里头
door
不
of
是
the
一个一个的
cupboard
小
was
小橱
opening
柜
on
门
its
啊，
own.
这个
So
柜
the
门
guy
啪
went to
打开
close
了，
it.
他过去就关上，那个
Once
柜
it
门
was
自动又
closed,
打开。
it opened
但
on its
是
own again.
在美国，在欧洲，科
It's
技多发达，
impossible
柜
to
门不会自己
find
开的，尤其厨房的
automatic
门，
cupboard doors
那
in
个上头放
kitchens,
碗，
right?
干嘛也会自动开啊，对不对？
To
关上
stop
它，
the door from
它
opening,
自动打
the
开。
guy
他用
just
手按
pressed
着，
on
结果
it,
那个门
and
从上
things
面
just
啪掉
fell
下来。
from above the
有的人
cupboard.
说啊，他
People
们为了
said
拍
that the
视频
guy
就
was
是
filming to
为了
get
让大家来
views.
看，这其实自己搞的鬼，
But
不
this
是，
one was
这是真
real.
的。
You
因为
can
有很
tell
多
when a
做假
video
的
is
时候，
fake.
这些东西可以进行分析的。比如
When
说
a
有个椅
chair
子自
only
己动，
moves
只
in
是往
one
一个方向
direction,
动，它
but
不能
can't
横着
turn
动或者转着
sideways,
圈儿动，
it's fake.
是这是做不到的。所以
Not
有
all
很多的那个视
supernatural
频，
events
他
caught
们
on
自动
camera
记录
are
下来的那个
fake.
是真的。我们有个
Someone
网
with
友给我
high
写信呢，
spiritual awareness told
他
me
是
he
有
saw
点阴阳眼，
things
他自己是看到，我
and
问我
asked
怎么
me
办，
what to do.
所以
He
他看
moved
到他
into a
们家
new
买
house
了个
last
新房子，
year.
就搬进去，去年哈，
When
搬
the
进去之
lights
后，一
went
到晚
out,
上一关
he
灯，
saw two
他看见两个
ghosts.
鬼在里头。
One
有
of
一
them
个
looked
鬼
like
呢，
an
他就
old
问是个
figure.
老头儿，很
It
早之
could be
前
the
的，100
previous
年
house
前的，
owner 100 years
原来
ago.
这个地方的屋主。
The
那这个
house
房子
was
后来不是
rebuilt,
拆
and
掉
the
之后
ghost
重
had
翻
no
盖嘛，
place to go,
这老头儿没地方去，结
so
果还
it
在他这
stayed
住，
there.
所以他盖了新房，老头儿还住进来。还
There
另
was
外一个
also
鬼
a
是女
female
的，
ghost who
在那
couldn't
哭哭
stop
啼啼。
crying. The
那个人跟
female
他对
ghost
话，因为
was
看得
also
见
an
呢。
owner.
现在的屋主就问他你是怎么回事儿，说
She
我
died
就是
from
之前在这住
sickness,
了，
and no one
得
liberated
病死
her.
了之后呢，也没人超度他，没人超度他，他又
She
怀念
missed
这个
this
房子就
home,
住在这
so
儿
she returned there.
啊。说
She
你不要
begged
赶
the
我走，
guy to
所以
let
他
her
写信给
stay.
我，
The guy asked
怎
me
么
what to
办？
do.
我说
I
赶他
told him
走
he
吧。
wouldn't be able
我
to
说你
chase
赶
the
肯定
two
赶不了，
ghosts away.
所以
So,
那如果
what
这个
could
事
you
儿你遇
do
到
if
怎
you
么
were
办
in
呢？
his shoes?
见
What
老
did
地神这不
Prithvi
是教
say?
我们了吗？
真的，
对
Chant
呀，
and
哎，
prostrate
你
to
供
Earth
地藏
Store
王菩萨，
Bodhisattva,
经
right?
常礼拜啊、诵念
Chant the
地藏王菩
mantra
萨
or
名
holy
号
name,
或者咒
or
语，
read the Earth
或者
Store
是
Sutra aloud,
经常念念地藏经啊，
and
那
your
么这
home
些
shall be
家
peaceful
宅就很
again.
安宁。所
To
以
have
家
a
宅安
peaceful
宁
home,
的这
you
句
need
话
to
的背
acquire
后隐
knowledge.
藏着很多的知识。这是第一
First,
个，
avoid
第
the
一个
ghosts. Chase the
把鬼就
ghosts
逼走，
away or liberate
或者
them.
超度走了。那么第二
Second,
个呢，
evil energy
但是
or
让你感觉家
spirits
宅不
could
宁当
disturb
中
your
呢，
home.
还有就是邪神、邪灵啊，
A
因
mortal is
那
too
又
powerless
有
to
那么大的
suppress
能
such
量，
evil
把
energy.
它给降服住。那一个人没有这个能量，一个人连鬼都弄不了。
You
他在
can't
暗
see
处，
evil,
你在
but
明
evil
处你看不
sees
见
you.
他，他看得见你。
That's
鬼神
evil. You
还
could
有那个
also
地方
end
的
up
土
angering
地
the
也对
earth
你不满。
deity,
所以
deities
这个
or
里面
evil.
不安
Angering
宁
any
当
of
中
them
可能
does you
含
no
有
good.
4种的生命在里头，可能只要有一种你就麻烦了。
There's
你
also a
我们
method
经
to
常也
feel if a
教大
place
家一
is
个方法哈，
inauspicious.
你去谁家，你也没有天眼哈，你也没有阴阳眼，
Go
但
to
是
your
你
friend's
到谁家，
place.
你觉得
If you feel
特
the
别的
place creeps you
阴
out,
森
and you
闷的
also feel
啊，
cold,
都
you
打个
feel
冷
a
战，
shiver running
心里觉
down
得
your
好冷啊
spine,
那种感觉哈，哎，
then
这
you
个就
need
要
to be
小心。
careful. If
那
your
尤其是
sixth
说，
sense
比如说
tells
这个
you
房
your
子你已
house
经
is
买
not
下来
right, then sell it.
啊，比如说现在如果那你觉得不对头，你想卖
Yes,
吧，又
even
赔
if
很
it's
多钱，
below market
甚至根本
price.
卖不出
Is
去，
there
怎
an
么办？
alternative if you don't want
哎，
to
要有
sell?
解决的方法，
Make
哎，就
offerings
是
to Earth
供
Store
养地藏王菩
Bodhisattva,
萨，
or
尤其
paintings
是
of Earth
有
Store
地藏王菩
Bodhisattva.
萨的画
That's it.
像。
It
这个
doesn't
好处
take
是
up
什么呢？
lots of
它不
space.
占那么多的地方，不占那么多的空间感。
If
如果
your
你家
house
里
is
比较
big,
大，
you can
是供
place a
立体的像，
human-sized statue.
立
A
体的啊，因为
human-sized
它占这个
statue
空间。
takes up more
那
space.
如果
If
家
you
宅不
haven't
大
got the
呢，你
space,
供
then
平
go
面
for a
的
painting.
像
Or
我们
you
这
could
个
worship a thanka.
老的这个地藏王唐卡像
This
这个
doesn't
就比
take
较
up lots
方
of
便
space either. If you
对
have some free
之后
time to
以后有
spare,
空呢
read the
读读
sutra
地藏经
aloud.
啊
This
对对
helps
我们特
too.
别有好处。
3.
三条
Their
就是
deceased
对于
ancestors
往
will be
生的祖
reborn
先
in
的一
heaven.
种利益。
The
还有很
younger
多年轻人有
generation
时候
might
这个与我有
think
啥
their
关系
dead
尤其
ancestors
是这
don't
个初
concern
生牛
them.
犊不怕虎呀，
They
这个与
just
我什么
don't
关系？
care.
或者
Some don't
我那
even
个
know
去
who
世的
their
爷爷，
grandfather
其实
was.
他对我也不是那么很好，
So
所以
they
我也不
don't
在
care
乎
at all.
爱去哪去哪。
Hell or
他去哪里
paradise
我
has
也不管
nothing
这
to
些事
do
儿。
with them.
哎，
Let me
那
tell
据
you what
我
I
所
know.
知道的哈，就
If
是
your
与你
relatives
相
go
关
to
的亲
hell,
人，
bad things
如
will
果
happen to you.
他去世之后是下地狱了，我们就一定是倒霉。
Like what?
失业、得
Being
重
out
病
of a job or
得
getting
特别
severe
难堪的病
diseases.
啊，
All
遇
kinds
上
of
什么事儿
unlucky happenings.
反正你
Bad
家里
things
头
will
所有
happen
的
to
人没
you
有一
and
个
your
顺利
family.
的，
That's
那这
real
个人就麻烦
troublesome.
了。
If you
哪
were
怕
a
你是一个富
millionaire,
豪，
all
其
your
实富
riches
豪
could
最
be
痛
gone
苦
in
的
the
事情
blink of an
是，
eye.
他的所有赚来的这个财富，眼睁睁的全部消失，
That's
这个是最
painful
痛
to
苦的，
watch.
是吧？眼睁
Imagine
睁的一
losing
个好
all
的
your
家全部
riches
败
and your
败光，
family destroyed.
最后一个家庭弄得七轮八落、七零八落、妻离子散、
Yet,
家破
you
人
could do
亡。
nothing to stop it. These
这个都与
events
你的
happen
祖
because
先
of
有
your
关系。
ancestors. Years
当年
ago,
在国
in
内啊，或
mainland
者中国
China, there
大
was
陆
a
呢，
famous
就
millionaire.
是有一个很知名的一个商人啊，他当时很有名，很有钱。
When
我
we
见了他
met,
之后
he
呢，
asked me for
他
some
就说：“哎，大
advice.
师，你指导我2句。”
I
哎，我
told
去
him to
看
do
了之后，
something about his
就说
ancestor's：“
你
grave.
是要把你的那个祖坟哈，好好修一下。
Some
那
of
祖
his
先的尸体
ancestors'
呢，
body parts
可
were
能是
missing.
被一些其他小动物，
Some
可能
small
有的
animals
比如
probably
比
chewed
如说
off
一
a
些腿
leg
掉
or
到
an
其他
arm
地方去了，
through
但
a
是这个
hole
变
or a
成一个
small
坟呢，有个
opening in
大
the
洞
coffin.
啊，
His
家里人没
family had
管。
no idea. The
没管呢，
repair
他
was
发了
done
财之后
simply.
呢，就说修坟吧，
He
修坟
just
这些
hired
也没
someone
有
to
管，也
patch
没
up
请
the
人
hole
看，
with some
就随
cement.
便就是反正拿水泥弄得漂亮了一些。
The
那么这个他
ancestor
这
who
个祖
wasn't
先就是
happy
爷
was
爷，
his grandpa.
就很生气，
We'll
生气的
talk
事儿还
about
在
what
后头。
happened later. So his
这个事
grandpa
儿还
was
没弄
resting
好，
with
他那
some
个坟
missing
刚修
body
好之后，
parts in
他
a
那
patched
个
up
爷爷的
coffin.
这个肢体不完整嘛，
At
啊，
that
可是那
time,
里呢
there
又
was
修一
also
个大
some
水管，
piping restoration
也
works
是特别
near
靠
his
近他
grandpa's
的坟
grave.
的地方。
So
我
I
的意思说，
advised
那
him
不
to
然的
move
话
his
你们就
grandpa's
挪一下
grave
坟，
away, or
把那
hire
坟
some
看一看。我
professionals
觉
to
得
deal
是
with
有
it.
坟上是有一些问题啊，需要弥补。
He
那给他
told me
说了
that
之后
just
说，
patching
我
up
都
was
刚给他
enough,
们弄
and
好，
grave
等以后
moving
吧，
could wait.
等几年以后有空再说。
His
这个话
bad
说
luck
完之
was
后，第
showing
2
the
年他就
following
开始
year.
倒霉。那么他在一个
He
他发
bought
了
a
财
piece
嘛，
of land,
有
which
很多
cost
很
him a
多
lot
钱，
of money.
他就在一个地方就买了一块地，
The
就给
plan
他这
was
个
to
公司
build
盖
an
一个总
office
部大楼。
tower for his employees. For the
他挖了个
foundation,
地
there
基，
was
往
digging
下浇
followed
筑
by
一个水
cement
泥，
pouring. There
浇
was
了
a lot
100
of
多车。
cement. About 100 cement
但
mixers were
是他的
used.
地基里
Here's
没有
what
存住，
happened. The
没
poured
有就是
cement
没有
didn't
存住
stay
这
in
些
the
水，
foundation. It
这
was
好
poured
像
into
是
the
打了地
underground
下一
running
个
water.
地下河流一样，这个水泥全跑下去，
He
多
picked a
显得
site
多
with
好的风
water
水宝
running
地，
underground
也
for
真有水
construction.
啊。
A
他为
big
啥不等
mistake.
呢？
I
因为
mentioned the
他那
piping
个
restoration
爷
works
爷这个祖坟那里不是
near
旁
his
边修个大水
grandpa's
管吗？
grave, and he
结果
ignored
他
it,
买了地，
right?
就
That's
买
what
到了
caused
底
such
下
a
有个
big
暗河
mistake.
的地方，
His
让他
money
所
was
有的财
wasted.
富打水漂。
After
从那
that,
之后，
he went to
又
court
是
several
法
times,
院又查他，
and
查
also
封他，
spent a few
后来
years
还坐几
behind
年牢。
bars. In
这
just
前头
one
的几
night,
十亿
he
就算
lost
是
billions because of
瞬间
this.
就没有了，一夜之间。所以
So,
呢，就是这
firstly,
个祖
always
先
remember
啊，
to take care of
如
your
果在不
ancestors'
好的地
graves.
方啊，我说一个是你的坟不好，第二个
Secondly, if your
如果下了地
ancestors
狱
are suffering in
啊，对
hell,
于我们
you,
活
as
着的
one of
人
their descendants,
是只
are
有
going
坏
to
处
be
没有好处。
affected.
所以
So,
呢，在
making
家里
offerings
供
to
养地
Earth
藏
Store
王菩萨，对我
Bodhisattva
们的祖
benefits our
先有好
ancestors.
处。接下
For
来
the
说第
living will
4项
enjoy
啊，
ever greater longevity.
全家人
That
健康
means
长
all
寿。
the family are
其实啊，
healthy and
我
long
们
lived.
做了
I
那么多的
guess
努
this
力，
is the
这
benefit
是
everyone wants.
最重要的一点。
Our
我们
wealth
家财
means
怎
nothing
样
if
啊，
we
收入
suffer
怎样，
from
都
poor
是为
health.
了能够健康的活着。
When
那
you're
么如果
rich,
再有
you
钱，就
want
会
to
去
live
追求
longer.
长寿。其实
Some
也有一
poor
些穷
people
人也
are
是长
long
寿，
lived.
差
They
不多
can
只要
support
是努力干
themselves
活
by hard work.
啊，能养活自己，啊，
They've
然后再
learned the
学会
mindset
心
of
中对
tolerance
很
and
多事
letting
情要
go.
宽容啊、解脱呀，是吧？
Some
有
old
很多
people
老人一
still
直干
work
着
on
农
their
活啊，在
farms.
农地干农活，
It's
不
not
是
because they're poor.
富 富贵与贫穷问题。
They
反
get
正他就
sick
干
when
惯
they
了，
stop
他
working.
停下来就得病。
By
就得病
doing
他
some
到农
farm
地里
work
头
such
干
as
一些
pulling
农
weeds
活
or
啊，
harvesting
抓抓虫
crops.
子，什么拔拔菜之类的，
They
哎，
feel
他就恢复
healthier
健
and
康。
alive.
所以很
Many
多
old
老人种
farmers
地
still
种惯了
work
之后
even
哈，
though their
打发孩子
children
发
are
财
able
了，
to
哎，
financially
老妈妈还
support
经常
them.
在农地里干活哈。
They
其实
work
这
to
个
stay
健康问
healthy.
题。所以我
So,
们能
a
得到
long
健
life
康
with good health
和
is
较
what
长
most
一点的
people
寿命
want.
的话，其实这才是每个人心中真正盼望的事情。
And
我们
it's
就是
not
说，
just you,
菩
your
萨
whole
保佑的不就
family
一个是健康，一个是长寿嘛？
will
并
be
且这里
blessed
指的
with
是
good
全
health
家人
and
健康长寿。
longevity.
是。
For the
我真
past
碰
30
到
years,
我
I've
从
seen how
过
people
去到
suffer
现
from
在
poor
30年以
health
来，我接触的人当中，
because
真
of
的
a
是
lack
功德
of
不够。
merits. There
他
was
一
a
家4
family
口
of
人是，
4. Its
反正
members
永
took
远有
turns
一个
falling
人
sick.
处在看医生的状态，就是轮番的。
It
比如
started
爸
with
爸
the
得病
father who
3个
was
月，
sick
好了之
for
后妈
3
妈得病，
months,
半
then the
年之后，
mother,
哎，
then their
大孩子得病，
sons.
二孩子得病，
And
最
then
小
it
的孩子
started
好了之
all
后，爸爸
over
又开始
again
得
with
病，
the
就是
father.
全家人永远轮番的看病。
It
这
had
都是有
nothing to
说
do
法
with
的，
diet or surroundings. This is
也不
karma.
是什么饮食不健康，哦，门窗有问题都没有，
The
这都是
problem
业
will
力
go
问
on
题，
forever until all
业火
karmic
烧
debts
身
are
了，
cleared.
对不对？
Blame
今
your
天你
sins
有
for
这样
what
的
you
生
are
活状
today.
态，都觉得都有点过分了，所以你还要受惩罚，
That's
你
your
要有
karmic
各种病态
punishment.
来折磨你。
So,
那怎么办
what
呢？
should you
这不有
do?
教了吗？
Same, make
供养
offerings
诵
and
念
chant to Earth
啊，
Store
地藏王
Bodhisattva.
菩萨，对。 所
Wealth
以
is
我们
meaningless
说
if you
健康
suffer
长寿，
from
说这
poor
些好事
health.
我们都不在乎，反过来说大家都明白了哈。
Poor
对，
health is the
有
last
啥都
thing
别有
people
病
want.
啊。
In
而我在
1995, I was in Guangdong, China.
1995年，我当时接触一个，当时在中国广东呢，接
There,
触一
I
个
was
那个香
contacted
港
by
的
a
一个商人，
businessman from Hong
他就是
Kong.
重
He was
病，
seriously ill,
重病
so he
就
said
约
he couldn't come to
说
meet
说
me.
我们不来，
And
你
he asked
能
me
不
to
能去
meet
香
him
港
in
看？
Hong
我说不
Kong.
行，
I told
他
him
跟
I
我
could
说一
help
定要
him
修
only
法，
if he'd learn Buddha
修法
Dharma
帮
from
助。
me.
他
So,
就来
he
了，
came to
带一个
Guangdong
团
to
队
learn
去。
meditation from
但是
me.
这个
I
人呢，
forget his
当
problem.
时他得什么病我给忘了，
He
就
was
是
bedridden.
躺在床上动不了。
He
说
could
听得
only
见的时候，他
respond
知道
by
有
moving
眼
his
睛表示有
eyeballs.
反应啊。
His
那
two
么他
wives
呢
also
也
came
挺
along.
好玩儿，也是前后有2房太太，这2房太太都跟来了，
He
都
owned
是富人
several office
就是他家
buildings
在
in
香港
Hong
有几栋
Kong
楼房，他不是卖哈，就收租，
and
谁
earned
租
his
他这个
living
房
off
子
his
都是写字
tenants'
楼，
rent.
用这个房子就要收钱，
He made a
收
lot
很
of
多
money.
钱。
I
我说你
asked
能
if
在
he
这
could
住
stay
几
for a
天
few days
来
to
跟我
learn
练功吗？
meditation. His
哦，不练。
answer?
他的二
No.
太太，
One of
二
his
太太当时
wives,
也都
in her
50多岁了
50s
哈，
at that
二
time,
太太就说
asked
大师，
me,
你知道
Do you
我
know
们
how
家
many
每
rentals
天
we'll miss out
收
on
房租
if
能
we
收多
stay
少钱
here?
呢？
I
我心里
didn't
哎，
care,
我什
and
么
I
事儿爱
didn't
多少
want to
钱多少
know.
钱，能不用
Nothing to
告
do
诉我。
with me, right?
很
We
多
earn a
呀，
lot,
哦
you
哦，很
know.
多，
All right,
随
whatever.
便吧，啊。
I
我
told
是
him to
跟我
stay for
住
a
一段
few
时间，
days, so
我
he'd
也
get my
能给
energy
你持续
blessing
的
while
加持，
practicing.
而且你
Then
呢
he'd get better.
才可能好起来。
He
他就
refused.
不能离
He
开香
couldn't
港，
leave Hong
离
Kong,
开香港
as
他
he
每天
needed
都
to
要收
collect
租。
the rent.
其实我相信不
Actually,
是每天
he
收
thought
租，
about
就
watching
是
the
他
people
旁边的人
around
呐
him.
都
He
是
was
帮他
surrounded
贴
by
钱
bloodsuckers who
啊，
depended on the
就
rent.
说
To
这个躺
them,
在
the
床上这个
bedridden guy
动不
was
了的这
only
个
a
人，
money-making
他
tool.
就是一个赚钱的机器。
His
为什么来
wives
2个
and
团队呢？
children were all sucking
2个
him
太太生
dry.
的孩子的，
He
他那些
brought his
孩子
wives
这
and
一个被
children to see
都
me.
都是
His
2个
two
太太呢，都
wives
各自
only
都在
thought
想方
about
设法弄
how to
钱，就
get
是
more money
这
from
样的
him.
活着有
What's
意
the
义，
meaning of
你
his
有这么多
life?
钱干
What
嘛
did he
呀？
use his money
现在这
for?
伺候
He
你的
was
都是想弄
surrounded by
钱的，
leeches. His
对不对？有一
wives
天到
even
律
went
师
to
那打
court
官司的时候说
and
说你
fought
看
for
我做
bigger
的多，能不能
portions
多
of
分点钱？
inheritance from
啊，
him.
他
What
那
a
个活
sad
着就
life
已
he
经
was
就
living.
没意思了。真
Farmers or
正在
manual
无论农
workers
民也好啊，老工人也好哈，
do
对，有点
physical
家务事
labor
儿
or
做，
house
有点工
chores.
作去做，
They
哪
may
怕
feel
肢体能
tired
适当的运
physically,
动很劳累一点哈，
but
但
their
是心
physical
理
and
和
mental
身
health
体大约
benefit
是
from
健
the
康
work.
的。
If
这
you're
样
able
其
to
实
get healthy
这种
from your
人生
work,
就挺好的，
you
就
should
挺
be
知足了
grateful.
哈。
This
所以这
businessman
个
wasn't
香港
living
这
his
位
life.
富翁的
He
这
was
个
suffering.
这种活着的这个状况，我觉得就是活受罪。
He
但是他
couldn't
动不
move,
了吧，
so he
虽然
hired
雇了
maids
很多
to
佣
take
人，
care of
但
him.
是他
He
是
got
后背
severe
屁股
bed
上的，
sores on his
那个
back
叫褥
after
疮嘛。
long-term bed rest,
所以有
with
些
the
部分都
result
露着骨
being
头
that his spine was showing. going. He was extremely rich, according to his wives and
大太
daughters.
太那个闺女说，
He had
我
more
爸
than
爸
enough
看
money to
有这么
eat
多
whatever
钱
he wanted,
可
but
是
he'd
就
not
什么
been
都不能
eating
吃。
normally for more than 10 years.
这种状态已经保持10几年了。
His doctors
医生给配了
prescribed
一
some
点小
health
东西，
food. They
他们搅
blended
和
up
完
the
了之
health
后，
food
啊，
and
在那
poured
个
it
流
into
管
his stomach
导流
through a
管
feeding
导进胃
tube.
里去。啊，
He'd get
他看着
anxious
他
when
们
his
家人吃
family
饭
was eating.
吃任何饭，
He
这老
couldn't
爷子又不
speak,
会说
just making a
哦，之
whirring
后就
noise
是
to
着急啊
express his
看那么
anxiety.
多饭啥都不能吃，
What a
我这么
pity.
富。
I'm not
我不是
blaming
说这病
anyone
人
for
不好
being
哈，
sick.
我是
I'm
说
just telling you
健
the
康的重要
significance
性。
of being
啊，
healthy.
对，健康太重要了。
Once,
我们有一
I
位
was
同修，
approached by an
也
old
是老父亲，
practitioner. He came in
推
a
着那个轮椅
wheelchair because he
来的，
couldn't move.
就动不了，就是根本就不能动，
Since
也
he
是
couldn't eat on
患
his
这个
own, he also relied on a liquid diet to survive. I tried blessing him, but I didn't see results. I used the most powerful blessing I know, a pure water blessing. The water wouldn't go to him. Why? Because his merits were all used up. Not even Buddha's illumination was able to help him. His karmic debt was too heavy. His son, a lawyer, was there with him. He spoke with good manners. Seeing the situation, he said, "It's hopeless. Nothing can help my father." Then he asked me if his father had too many sins. I realized he knew what was happening. At that time, we were building a new center. I asked him if he would like to make a donation. I told him it was a good chance to earn merits on behalf of his father. He asked if this would help his father. I told him that was up to the Buddha, not me. It had nothing to do with me. It was a chance to pray to the Buddha to clear his father's karmic debt. Your father could die or get better, according to the Buddha's decision, not mine. He said he should help his father to earn merits. He was a good son. His wife asked me how much they should donate. She said they'd donate any amount, if only I would tell her. I said we never set a fixed amount. It's a donation. Whatever amount the donor has donated, the donor shall not ask for it back if their relatives haven't been helped. Any amount is fine, really. You'll be helped if it's destined that way. The family stayed in Vancouver for a few days and gave us a check. Before they left Vancouver, the dad was able to chew his kanji. Seeing hope, he decided to stay for a month. I blessed the old man again. I performed a water-spraying blessing, and it worked. The blessing gave him some energy. The energy allowed him to walk. A month later, he had no problem living on his own. That's what I meant. You'll receive the Buddha's help. If it's fated that way, I think the old man and his son have earned merits to a certain extent. Let's just call it a merit foundation. This merit foundation was built in the past. The past means the past of this lifetime or their previous lifetimes. They might have vowed to help all sentient beings, or did things to help others. In this lifetime, when seeing people like us or temples, they recalled what they did in their previous lifetimes and wanted to try. So the old man started getting better instantly. His improvements had nothing to do with my blessings. He should thank the Buddha for his transformation. Blessings work quickly with the Buddha's green light. Good health and longevity don't come free. You need to earn them by accumulating enough merits. Many senior TCM practitioners learned about physiognomy while learning the way of medicines. When seeing severely ill patients, the TCM doctors use their medical knowledge to treat the patients. As they judge the patient's lifespan by their physiognomy, the veteran ones will tell you, don't take any more medicines. Don't waste money on treatment. Spend time with your family. That means no hope for the patient. The experienced TCM doctors can tell the family to be prepared. They can tell if a person is going to die soon. How? It's physiognomy. They understand that. When a patient looks seriously ill, they surprise you by saying, it's nothing. Some diseases have no obvious symptoms in their earlier stages. Once diagnosed, the patient will soon die. Such diseases are predestined. Someone dies of a sudden illness. They die like the wind. It could take only days. This kind of death is the result of karmic debts. How do you know if someone has lots of merits? They're wealthy, healthy, and long-lived, with prosperous descendants who benefit from their merits. They have profitable businesses. Their children show filial piety. Of course, it takes a lot of merits to live such a life. We're still at chapter 11. Master, I would like to ask Master to further explain the fifth benefit in detail. Their wishes will be fulfilled. Here is an example of it. Your son doesn't do well at school, but you wish for him to get into a university. Almost all parents worry about this when their children start school. All parents worry about their children's grades. Grades are important for entering universities, choosing a better elementary school, and, especially, a better high school, will affect your children's future. Going to a better private school costs more, but kids can get better grades. Some children are slow learners. This could be caused by their parents or their own lack of merits. Some people remain a slow learner forever. That means they're not going to achieve anything in their lives, or they're going to keep making mistakes, such as befriending the wrong people, scolding or hitting the wrong people, etc. They even cheat and hit their relatives. They keep doing things they're not supposed to do. They just keep being ignorant. When you're a slow learner, you don't remember what you're taught. When you're blessed with wisdom, remembering is so easy. You don't even have to try. When you have lots of merits, everything goes your way. Your studies, relationships, marriage, giving birth, parenting, etc. all go smoothly. Your merits also make your kids' lives smooth. Your children will be healthy, get good grades, enter university, find a good partner, have a good kid, and get a good job. Everything will go well for them. People do have different fates. People who are destined to live as such enjoy success in everything they do. Some keep complaining while having such smooth lives. Such people are ignorant and confused. You could have lots of merits from the past, but still make mistakes in this lifetime. How? Yes, you just keep saying and doing the wrong things. But one thing is for sure, you'll end up marrying the right person and find the right job. That's a smooth life too. A smooth life lived by a confused person. In Vancouver, there's an old man from Guangdong, China. He worships Guanyin Bodhisattva at home. He's now the landlord of his 5 buildings. Life was hard when they came to Vancouver. They came to Vancouver 40 years ago from a small village in Guangdong. After working and making some money, he bought a few pieces of land that nobody wanted. They were quite cheap, only a few $1,000s per piece. Now, each of his buildings on those properties is valued at about $100 million. How did he do it? He took his mother with him to buy the land. He said, "Mom, now I've earned money. I don't spend it on gambling or do bad things. I'll just buy some land for my kids. The property may appreciate later." They went to the countryside directly. Land in central areas was expensive. A vacant plot of land in the countryside was about a few $1,000s. His mom said it was okay to buy it if it was cheap. It was not a business but an investment for the future. The properties had appreciated ever since the purchase. When they decided to add buildings on them, the properties were tens of thousands of dollars each in market value. He now collects rents off those buildings. People call him smart, but he's not. He's a slow-witted person, but also a blessed person. When you have a lot of merits, you just buy whatever you want, even if you've never invested before. You just buy and wait for appreciation. Look how blessed he is. A developer approached him to buy his properties 5 years later. And
还
he
有我的一
told
问
him,
菩
the
萨，
bodhisattvas said
那
no.
一问菩萨，菩萨直摇头说不卖，我们家菩萨说了不卖。
The
还给人家
developer was
说说老外
Caucasian,
要买
and
的
he didn't know
菩
what
萨
that
是谁
meant.
都不懂，哎，就是很好玩吧，就是这样的。
When
这
you're
就是
so blessed,
真正
no
是有功
disaster
德的
will
人
befall you.
就有这个福气啊，这叫承受力强，对他有那个功德嘛，是吧？
You'll
得做
succeed
啥
in
啥
whatever you do.
哎，
Look at
尤
how
其
many
是你看
people
有
have
很
messed
多
up
人
their
投资，
lives.
所以投资又赔了啊，是不是啊？和人合伙又翻脸了，
Because of their
夫妻
messed up
又吵起来了，
investments.
是不孩子又被学校给开除了？嗯，这诸事不顺哈，这太多了。
When
这
your
个不顺
luck
的
is
事
at
太
its
多了
worst, you could even hurt your
哎
neck
赶上
or
不顺的
break
时候
an
打喷
arm
嚏
by
俩
just
掉
sneezing.
是吧？一挠头，哎呀，胳膊断了，
Is it
听起来这么
possible?
悬吗？
Ask the
你问问骨科医生就知
orthopedists.
道了。
They know.
多做
So,
功德。
work on your merits,
对，我
okay?
们这一讲就知道了哈。
Let's
哎
move on to the
好
next benefit.
再接
再
下来
往下
呢，
第
6.
六，
They will
无
not
水
suffer
火灾。
disasters of flood or fire.
所以
Of
在
all
自
the
然灾
types
害
of
之中
natural
哈，水
disasters,
火
fire
是
and
两
water-related
大魔
ones
鬼
are the
啊。
worst.
可是
The
生活
thing
中有
is,
谁都
we
要
can't
用
live
它，
without
对吧？
fire and
谁家都要
water.
烧火做饭吧？是吧？
You
这个
can't
火必
cook
须要
without
用，那
fire,
水
and
呢？
you'll die if you
哎
don't
你一
drink.
刻都离不开，对不对？人要靠水活着，
Our
所以这个
lives
水火都
depend
要
on
用。
them.
但
It's
是
really
这个东
bad
西一
once
旦
fire
发
and
作
water
发
are
威之
angered,
后真是水火无情啊！
and you
真是
become
要
a victim of their rage. Look at the
2003
tsunami
年
incident
印
in
尼海啸
Indonesia
大
in
水灾
2003.
淹死了
Many
很多
people
人。今
died,
年还有那
right?
个德国，
AHR
德
Valley
国
in
那个水灾
Germany
好
was
险
badly flooded too,
当这
right?
个
How
超级
could
大雨
rain
来的
alone
时候
flood an area?
你这下到什么程度呢？
Imagine a
就好像整个
giant
这个城市
reservoir
天
in the
空上头
sky,
哈，
and all
有
its
一个
water
超级
released on
巨大
you.
的水库往下倒水一样，是这
That's
样
what
的。
it's like.
比如
Water
2个小
levels in
时
flash
能
floods
下到
can
1米，
rise 1 meter in 2 hours,
那
and
么8个
5
小时能
meters
下
in
到
8
这个5、6
hours.
米，这
That's a
里那就是
disaster.
巨灾。
Let's
再
move
接
on
下
to
来
the
呢，
next benefit.
7
7. Events that
虚
waste
耗
money
贫
or
穷
resources will not
虚耗
happen.
通常来
We're
说就是
talking
漏
about
掉
events that make you lose
尤
money
其
for
是
no
你
reason.
的财富就莫名其妙的漏掉，就是跑掉了，
It's
就像
like
在一
your
个口
money
袋里装
slipping
满
through
漏
that
掉
hole
了，
in your
没了，
pocket.
筐子里装的这个东西没了，
What's
漏掉
left?
了，就像那个竹
Nothing.
篮打
Can you
水，
hold
竹篮
water
踢沙
using
子
a
一样，
basket full of
漏光了。
holes? No
所
way.
以有
It's
很多
hard to
家
keep
该
your
倒
money
霉
when you
哈，
lack
就是
merits.
这种也是，我觉得功德不够。
It's
好
like
不容易存
saving
2000块钱呢，
$2,000
哎，
and then having to spend
老妈得一场病花
$6,000 on
6000，
medical
不但
bills.
花
You
光
need
积
to
蓄
get a
还要
loan
借
for
钱，
that.
所以人家
Imagine
好不容
saving
易
up
这个积累了10万块
$100,000
钱，
through hard work
儿
and
子
losing
一
it all
次
in a
错
messed
误
up
的一个举
investment.
动或投资没了，立刻
Zero
人
is
生
what
无
you're
分
left
文。
with. There are
这
too
些
many
这
holes
都
that your
是
money is slipping out
漏
of.
财的地方。这个漏财的地方太多了，
In
尤其在
today's
当今这个
world,
世界
we
哈，
see street
公开直
brawls,
接打架的这种无知行为越来越少，
but
可是
more
动脑筋
scams that
骗
prey
钱
on us for our money.
骗钱的人比骗啥的都多。
10
10年
years
前呢，
ago, there was a Taiwanese
在台湾
immigrant
有一
in
个
Vancouver.
同修，他
After
呢就是中
settling
文
in
跟华移民
Vancouver,
跟华
she
很
still found time to
他
visit
们呢经常
Taiwan.
回台湾，
Once,
他
she
那次呢
returned
在
to
文华中
Taiwan
比较久，
after
2年
staying
没
2
回去。
years in Vancouver.
很奇
She
怪，
told me that she got
他
a
就跟我
call
亲口
after
讲的，
touching down
他
in
说我一
Taiwan.
回台湾，
Within 3
那
or
个手机
4
刚打
hours of
开
switching on her
几个小时
phone,
3、4个小时以内，
she
就收
received
到
a call.
一个电话，
It
这
was
是
a
台湾
call
一
from a
个
fake legal
公检
institution.
法的这个法律机构打给他的。
The
就是关于
scammer
他的
told
税
her
务
about
规
her
定，
unpaid taxes and how
为
he
了
knew she
就
had
说的
just
非常
returned
的
to
详细，
Taiwan.
说我们知道你刚回台湾，
Scary,
邪门儿吧哈。
right? And
之后
then, for
就是为了
so-called
验证你是不是这个
identification
人，
purpose,
怎么
the
验证
scammer
你的
listed the numbers
驾
of
照
her
号码、
ID card,
护照号码、台湾
driver's
的什么
license,
身份证件
insurance
号码，
policies,
还有那个医
medical
疗保险
card,
卡号码
etc.
等等的。
Those
那这些
numbers
都
were
弄完之
real,
后说，你
but
们
she
到底
was
是真的
still
假的呀？
skeptical.
说
To
这样，我留
convince
你个
her,
号码，
the
你可以打
scammer
过来
left a
拨过去，
number
我
for
放
her
心
to
你。
call
可以
back.
打电
She
话过去
called
拨过
back
去，
and believed
他
that
就
it
放心
wasn't
了。
a scam.
这一
I
次的
don't don't know what
时间
happened later, but
这
she
位女
lost
士
$300,000
损失
in
30
just 7 days.
在7天以内损失了30万，
And
损失
that
完了之
number
后
was not in service
打电
anymore.
话再也打不通了，
That's
但
the
是钱也给
story.
人划拨走了。
Master, someone mentioned that he isn't able to save money despite working hard.
也不是挣不到钱， 但是就是发现存不下钱。
His paydays
刚
are
挣来
often
钱
met
就发现，哎呀，糟糕了，
with
今
a
年要
leaky
比方说
roof or
我
his
房子漏
family's
了，要去
medical
补房
bills.
子，家里老人又生病了，他又花钱
In
不够了。
short,
我
he
发
just
现我
can't
所挣
save
来
up
的
no
钱
matter how
就
hard he
没有存
works.
得下来的。
Is there
所以
anything
说
he can
想
do
什
to
么
save
办
up
法
some
能让
money?
他挣来的钱能够存一点下来？
His
对，
pocket
所以他
leaks
在这个
just
漏
like his
洞啊，
roof. What
其
is
实
the
这个
cause
是什
of
么意
this?
思呢？
He
是
lacks
你的
merits,
功
so
德
his
与
fate
命
is a
运啊，
life without
应该是叫
savings.
零存款，
嗯，
就是
He's
你每个
destined to
月
live a
家
life
长
where
赚来
he's
的
earning
钱刚刚够吃够喝，这
just
样紧
enough
紧
to
张
make
张的
ends
生活，
meet.
这就是你的命运啊，你存
Saving?
不住钱，
That's
这是
not
命运。
possible.
那怎么
That's
改
his
呢？
fate. Is there a way to
地藏王
fix
菩萨
this?
你去
Revere
去
and
控制，
worship Earth
就
Store
开始改变。
Bodhisattva.
所以这
That's
个
it.
漏财
There are
的呢，
various
我
ways
看了也
money
有几
could
种
slip
状况
away.
啊。这一种呢，就
Losing
是
money in
叫做投
investments is
资
common.
嗯，
投资亏损的。
People
投
would
资的话
invest
就
in
是
a
说，哎，有个
project that
项
is
目
said to be
啊，
highly profitable.
能利润很高，
They
投资
put
100
in
万，
$1
大概
million.
2、3年就
If
对
they see a
就
potential
能
of
赚对
making
半，
$2
就变
million
成200
in
万。
2 to 3
投资
years,
的人因
they
为有
have
钱
lots
才
of
投资
money,
嘛，
so they invest.
你得
There
想
are
到另外一
people
种
who
投
would
资，
get their
就他
close
借钱。
relatives to
啊，
join in
这
to raise
我这
funds.
个游戏啊，
是
好事，
是，
They
太棒
thought
了，
after paying
我
off the
就
other
把我的亲
investors'
戚朋友老同
dividends,
学啊，
哎，
求爷爷告奶奶要凑点钱，
嗯，
凑个20万、30万，
they
我再
could
混一
still
混，
make
给
some
他们
money out of
5%
it.
的利息的话，
太多
我
了，
自己
是，
是吧，
So,
又
why
赚回来
not?
25万，
嗯，
是吧？
Those
但
who
是这些
borrow
钱，
money
尤
to
其是
invest
借钱去
usually
投
don't
资的
end
人，
up well.
是死的最惨的。
When you
借钱
borrow
炒股
money to
票的
invest,
啊，
you're
因为
losing more
什么
than
呢？他
just
是
your
借
money,
的别
but
人的
also
钱，
the
亏的
lenders.
不光是自己啊，亏的是整个借来亲戚朋友的钱了，
You'll
这
be
根
too
本没
ashamed
有
to
脸
face your
见
relatives who
相
have
公
lent you
父老
money.
乡亲呐，
嗯，
最后选择
压力
自尽。
太大了，对，
对，
嗯
It's
这
the
是一种
worst
叫最惨的
investment.
投资，
嗯，
请大
Remember,
家注意
never
啊，千
borrow
万不要
money to
做借
invest.
钱投资。但是
Risky
很多冒险
investment
人士
doesn't
就是
stop
说，
people because of
风
its
险
high
就是高
return.
风险，所以因才有高回报嘛。
嗯，
但
But
是
what
说
if you're
如
on the
果没有
wrong
回报，
side
只
of
有
high
风险呢，
return?
钱
Your
就没
money
有
is
了，
gone.
对不对？
Agree?
啊，
When
但
a
是有一
scammer
点，
tries
一
to
般人家
scam
骗你
you,
的时候啊，
he'll
先
let
给
you
你一
profit
次，
at
第一
first.
次，比如说你看你投资2000，你试试看，啊，10 分
Say,
钟之
your
后
money
就变成
doubles in
1500
10
啊，这
minutes.
发财
You
太
can
快
make
了
quick
啊！
money at
行了，我
first.
给你
Then
30
you're
万打进去，
investing
就等着收入
$300,000 and
45
waiting
万，
for
你才
higher
是有，
profit. The
结果发现
scammer
人都
has
找不着
already
了，
disappeared with your
账号也
money.
没了。
真的，
啊，见人啥都没有，还有很多
Online
就在
scams are
网
very
络上就
common
上当了。
nowadays.
这
There are
国外有
even
这个骗子
scammers
学
who
院的，
disguise
哎，
themselves
他
as
这些都
investment
是
gurus
都是
on the
名
internet.
师，
They
都是在
often
金
team
融
up with
界呀
elites
等
from
等
other
的，与
fields,
诈骗混合了多年之后的江湖老贼。
such
哎，
as
他有很
financial
多高技
experts,
巧，他还
bankers,
聘用了一些
investment
高科技人
advisors,
才，
legal
比如在投资
advisors,
公司工作
etc.
过，银行工作过，甚至警察局工作过，法院工作过，给他配合。
And
还有
don't
这些
forget
地
the
方，像
corrupt
银行
government
啊、政府机
officials.
构，还有出卖情报的。
对，
比如
There
说
are
我
black
告诉你
sheep
哈，
in
今
the
天
government
他们都
sectors,
已经出卖情报挣钱。我
selling
说我给
personal
你出卖一个
information
情
to
报，你
scammers
给我
for
50
money.
块美金就可以。
How
比如
much
说我
information
大
do
约
they need to sell to
1个
get
月，
rich?
我给
Maybe
你
10
出卖
people's
10个人的
info.
情报，
They
我就
could
赚
make
不
a
少
lot
钱，
of
对不对？
money.
光
If
一
they're
个出卖
selling
你
the
的财
information
富的
of
情报，
millionaires to
从绑
kidnappers,
架集团
right?
到骗子集团，
That
连帮轰
explains
炸，
why scammers know
把你搞
everything
的
about
你
you.
分不清真假，就上这个当。
是，
提醒
Also,
我们的网友
invest
哈，
in
虚
Bitcoin
拟
at your
货
own
币的
risk.
风险叫做像魔鬼一般
Take note,
严重。
okay?
当然
That's
我
what
就
I'm
会很
telling
善心
you.
提醒大家哈，
You
也
may
许你觉得
disagree
你这
with
是对
me,
的
but
啊，
people have
但是
come to
我所
me
听到的，来找我，来投诉，
and
来诉
told
苦
me
的
stories. You
很
don't
多，
want to hear them.
非常的恐怖。
千万
Invest
要
at your own risk.
那些
They
人
told me
放什么
people
话？
who buy
说买
properties are
地产的
stupid,
都是傻子，
And those who
住
buy
自己买
houses
的
as
房子全
shelters
是
are
傻子。
dumb. They'd
我们
rather
的钱
invest their
全部
money
投到
in
这
tech
样的高
stocks
科技
and
上，投到
bitcoins.
这样的炒作上，投到这样的那种什么虚拟货币上，他把正常性投资，他是都
Yes,
当
they
傻子
call
来投
people
资。
like us stupid. They're
这些
not
人就是
scammers. They
这
just
叫
like high
这
risk
种就是高冒
investments.
险人士，他可能不是骗子，
They
但是
could
他的
end
冒
up
险
with
行
nothing
为
at the end
会
of their
让你血本无
investments.
归啊。
So,
所以网友
be
千万要
careful
小
with
心，
what
别
you
冒这个投
invest
资的
in.
险。
Your
那还有
kids
一
could
种
be
呢
the
漏洞
leakage
就
of
是
your
家里的
family
孩子，
wealth.
防
Stop
警
seeing
察
corrupt
防
cops,
税务
investment advisors,
防会
even
计师
friends,
防银行
etc.
都防了吧，还防朋友，防投资都防住了。但
You
是有一
think
个人
you're
防不了，
safe,
你的孩
but
子。
you're not. 20
20
years
年前的
ago,
事情了。
I
刚
had
到
just
温哥华，
arrived in Vancouver.
有一
A
个
friend from
台湾的
Taiwan
朋友
came
在
to
这边
see
住的，
me. He had some
他就有个
family
事儿找我，
issues.
他
It
问他
was
孩
his
子，
son.
他
The
们来
married
看我的时候
couple
开
came
个
in their son's
特
sports
别超
car.
级跑车，
The
带他
guy's
妈，他
wife
妈下
threw
了
up
他就
as
坐
soon as she got out of the car. The
他
car
就
was
像
too
坐到地板
fast
上，
and shaking
他
so
有
much
一
that she
点点小
couldn't
波动，
take
他
it.
全颠的，就直顶那个车的那个棚顶，哎，
That
他孩子本来是个
flamboyant
老
car
实人
never
吧，
went well with their
对吧？开那个
honest-looking
跑车
son.
吧，我觉
That's
得
what I
根本就不
think.
配。
I
我怎么
asked
买这
why
么个
they
车呀？
bought it.
他
Their
是考
son
上
was
我们本
accepted
省的
by
UBC 不是很
UBC,
有名
and
吗？
he
这个
rented
大
a
学
place near the
考上去之
campus.
后，他失踪了，在外面租过房子。
He
就说妈，
asked
你
his
不给我买
mom
个
to
跑
buy
车，我
him a
就是不
sports
读书
car.
去。这把他妈给急的呀！
If
他爸
his
要在
mom
国内
said
开工
no,
厂，哎呀，
he'd
急得买
refuse
吧
to
买
go
吧
to
买吧。
UBC.
哎，我的祖宗啊，
His
给你买个
parents
车来
didn't
你
have a
随便买。
choice, so they bought it.
啊，但
His
是买了
son's
车之后又不
attendance
怎么
was a
读书，
mess.
天天旷课。
He
车
got
这一
kicked
年
out
以
of
后，
UBC
到
a
学校
year
给开
later.
除了。
Getting
一
speeding
开跑车，
tickets
噌
was
一
the
加油
only
门，
thing
警
he
察就
was
追
good
上来罚
at.
款。结果
3
3年
years
以后，
later,
孩子
the
学好
boy
了，
said he wanted to settle
啊，
down.
说
He
妈，你
asked
可以
his
把
mom
跑
to
车给卖
sell
了，
the sports car.
我
He
不
said
再
he
做
would
这种冒
stop
险，
doing
我
risky
懂事了
things. He had grown up.
啊。
He
然后
wanted
开
to
公
start a
司，
business
黄
trading
金公司，
gold. He
我
asked
投资
$30
就
million
3000多万而
as
已，
the
结果
investment, and
500多
then
万，
he
在一
lost
年
$5 million in
就
his first
亏进
year
去
at
了。
the helm. He got a
打回来给
serious
他
beating
拿着
from
棍
his
子抽了
dad.
他一顿，
The
最后
boy
他就
called the
报警。
cops,
完了，
and
警
they
察
asked his dad to
不
stay
分青红皂
300
白，给他
meters
爸
from
说给
him.
了个指令，说不准靠近他儿子300米。哎呀，
The
我一当
dad
败家
said,
的儿子，
"My son
好
is
事
a
哎，
spendthrift."
你
I
看我
was
笑
quite
话了。
happy to
我说
hear
怎么会
that.
看你笑
I
话呢？
even
那你
congratulated
为什么
him.
有这种
He
公
thought
式
I
的
was
口气呢？
rubbing salt in his
我说，
wound. I
因为
said,
他不让
"Think
你靠
about
近
it.
你儿子
Now
300
your
米，
son
你
won't
儿
be
子
able
不
to
就
get
没办法
money
再
from
拿
you
你的钱了
anymore."
吗？
That
哎，
makes sense.
有
You're
道
right.
理，哎，有道理，有道理。
He
被
was
救了。
saved. He
但
felt
是以后挣了
lost.
钱还给
He
谁
had
呢？
no
这
idea
立
who
刻
was
人
going to
生
spend
找
his
不到
money.
方向了又。
That
我具
boy's
体的，
parents
我
should
觉
have
得
brought him to our
孩
center.
子还小的时候，刚出生哈，就
Right
到
after he was
经
born
常
to
带
get
他
him
到咱们禅
exposed to
堂
our
哈，前来
practices.
礼佛、
对，
念佛、做修行。再
Then
大点儿
he
之后，
could have
跟着父母
joined
亲
his
到禅
parents
堂来
in
做义工，
volunteering.
是
And
他就
then
知道
he'd
什么
know
是
what's
正
right
道
and
和
what's
歪道，
wrong.
是，
这样子保证不会出这种事儿。
太好了，对，
你到我们
Kids
禅堂
behave
来的
well
孩子
after
哈，
their
来过
third
3
visit
次
to our
的，他都
centers.
不是做这样的人啊，就是这样的。对，
So,
所以
there
烧
are
钱的
many
方法
ways you
很
could
多，
lose
漏洞很
money.
多。所
To
以呢，
avoid
这
losing
多
money,
做
earn
善事，
merits
多
by
做功
doing
德
lots
啊。
of good deeds.
那
Next,
接下来
8.
呢是
They
第
will
8
not
点，
have
做
nightmares.
噩梦，不会觉
Master,
噩梦
is
而
having
言，
nightmares a
有
big
这么
deal?
简单吗？向祈请师傅给我们开示。
People
对，
who
我
have
这几十年以
nightmares
来
all
呢，
the
就接
time
触
tend
做
to
噩梦
lose
的
their
人
hair.
啊，他们那个头发脱得特别厉害，
They
而
also
且
have a
气
dull
色哈
complexion and the
都是发
gaze of a
青的、
dead
发
man.
灰的，两眼呢是发呆，而且无光啊。
I
我
think
说严
people
重
with
的
such
哈，
symptoms
严
won't
重
live more
的
than
3
3
年以内暴
years.
毙死亡。
Dreams
你
are
想啊，这个做
mysterious.
梦有什么学问呢？
A
比如
young,
说
single man once
啊，
told
有一
me
个
he
人咨询我，
repeatedly had the
哎，
same
师傅，我总
dream.
是梦见一个女的，
In his
长得
dream,
特别漂亮
he
来找
saw a
我，
beautiful
是
young
一个年
lady.
轻人，未婚的男青年哈。
He had the
结果
same
呢，
dream for
这
2
已经2
years.
年多了。
He
我
was
说结
worried
果呢？
about this, so
之
he
后我
came to
不
see
能
me.
不来看看你哈。
He
你
asked
看我
me
还
how
能活
much
多久？
longer he could live.
嗯，
I told
没
him to
关系，
treasure
你
his
还能活
time.
半年
At that time,
啊，
he had 6
你
months
还能吃
left.
很多好吃的啊。我是说的是实话，还能活半年。
When
所
you
以
repeatedly
连异
dream
性
about
梦
the
到一
same
个
beautiful
人，
and seductive
尤其
lady,
是个异性，而且很妖的，让你着迷的异性，
what
这
does
个
it
是
mean? seen?
那个东西，
A
科
ghost.
为鬼。
I'm
果呀，
serious. It's the
哎，
ghost
这个
of
是要命
someone
的。
who died because of you
这
in
个
the
是
past.
前世你害了他，
Now,
今世
this ghost is
他做
seeking
成厉鬼
revenge by
所
killing
命。
you in your
在梦中
dreams.
索命的，都是你害了他的命，他来索命的。
It's a
厉鬼。
fierce and ferocious ghost.
嗯，
Never
所以
take
这个
your
梦
dreams
我就
lightly.
是有学问呐、
That's
梦
why
里
I
面的
said
事儿
dreams are
太不可说
mysterious
了，
and can't
都
be
不好
explained
分析。
logically.
有的
Everyone
有
is
的人是
different
这
in the
样，
way they come into
看到鬼呢，
contact
就
with
是他
ghosts.
看到这个形象，
Some
或者
can
你
see
还能看到
ghosts
鬼的脸
clearly,
和四
their
肢，
appearance, gender,
还有的能看
etc.
见男鬼和女鬼走过来，
Some
他
come
开
into
始看到这个
contact
鬼
with
来的时候，
ghosts when they
这
sleep,
个人就动不了，
in the
而且
form
喊
of
不出声
sleep
音来
paralysis.
啊，就开始压住他了
That's
那这
scary.
个就很恐怖。
People
这个
feel
压呢，
lethargic the next day after they
之后你
experience
的感
sleep
受是如何的？
paralysis.
你的能量突然之间就，你第二天没力气了。
It's
那
as
这
if all
这
their
是
energy
压
has
了
been
之后是一
sucked
个
out.
什么事儿呢？就把你能量吸走了。
It's
所以经常
dangerous
出
when you
现这样的
experience
梦
sleep
魇被压住的
paralysis
话，
too often.
哇，对你非常危险。所以经常在类似梦中，
Some
还有很多
even
时候我很清
experience
醒
it
的时
when
候
they're
看
still
到就
awake
给
and
压住了。
conscious.
这
Ghosts
个
that
时候，
seek revenge are
这
dangerous.
个鬼也带有报复性的，就是针对你来的，
They're
很恐
scary.
怖。
Sleep
对你来说，这个
paralysis
伤
is
害
no
将来是
laughing
非常
matter.
巨大的。
When you
鬼压
experience
身
it too much, it
经
could
常被
endanger
压，
your life.
你出的严重问题，第一个叫生命危险，第
Also,
二个，
it
无论
affects your
对于事
career
业
and
和
marriage.
婚姻，
It
其
does you
实
more
没
harm
有
than
一件
good.
是好事儿，
Maybe
不知
I
道会
should
发
say
生什么，
nothing good comes from
但
it.
是不是好事。
It leaves
严
you
重
with
者
brain
呢，除
damage
了死
if it
亡之后
doesn't
呢，
kill
他
you.
的大脑就受到了影响，
You
就
could be
容易
driven
精神错乱，
insane or
乃至到崩
experience
溃，
a mental breakdown. Could it
还会
trigger
引
other
发其他的
illnesses
要
or
命的病，
diseases? Maybe
突
you'll
然之
die
间
from
胃
vomiting too
大
much
出血，
blood,
吐血而亡，
or you'll
突然
suddenly
之
get
间
a
检
late
查肝
stage
癌了，
cancer. All
等
these
等
could
的这些事
happen.
情，
If a
都是
ghost
与
has
这个
been
鬼的
following you
长期
for a
出现
long
有关
while,
系。
your
就是
life's
索
been
命，
slowly drained away.
这严
Your
重的就会
lifespan
晕
could
倒。
be reduced by a few
再
years.
轻一点
Consider
之后呢，
yourself lucky
怎么
if
说，
you
就是
only
类
feel
似能
tired
量
or
低下，
weak.
比如说就像长期失眠一样，是吧？
Those
无
who
论
have
男
been
女，
seeing
手冰冰
ghosts
的，
have cold
气色
hands,
发青，
pale faces,
嘴
and
唇发
deep
暗，
purple
尤
lips.
其是女
Women
生，
tend to have
腹
cold
部永
stomachs
远都
and
是
feel
冰冰
weak
的，
all the time.
正能量严重的匮乏。
They
第二
can't
个，
stand
特
the
别怕冷。
cold.
第
Also,
三个，
they avoid
没
interaction
有
and
能
always
量
keep their heads
和
down.
人接触，他永远是看着地下，他很少抬头看人，看太阳。
Some
对，
also become
所以
depressed.
精神科就是认为，现在这种轻微精神病全叫忧郁症，
It's
很麻
troublesome.
烦。
There's
但是呢，
nothing
现代
modern
医学对他
doctors
没有
can
办法
do.
啊。
That's
就
how
光梦
troublesome
魇、
it
鬼
can
压
be.
身就有这么多，
What I've
但是这
mentioned
些
are
还都
not
是
the
最严
worst
重的。
problems. Some
还有的
died
梦中
after
看到自己
dreaming
拿
that
着
they
要杀
killed
人，
people with a knife.
自己拿着要杀自己，这些非常恐怖。还
Some
有很多
dreamed
看到
about
自己
killing
拿着要杀
themselves
自
and
己之后，
died
自己已
6
经半
months
死。
later. Some
但是表面
appear
看也
just
看不到
fine
伤，
when we see
但
them,
隔一段时间
but are
去医
diagnosed
医
with
学检查
cancer
之后，就
after
知
a
道自己已
while.
经得重病。
What
这是
caused
怎么
it?
弄的呢？都是
Ghosts,
恶鬼来
of
搞。
course.
所以在
Sometimes,
我们
it's not
看似
just
类似
ghosts.
梦境中的鬼，
Some
还有
also
妖
dream
邪，
about evil
就是有
spirits
动
and
物邪
demons.
灵啊。那
Some
么
are
还有呢，
hybrids of
神鬼
divine
结合体，
beings and
就是妖。
ghosts, which
就
makes
是你
them
不知道
demons.
碰到这个东西是啥，它能
Regardless of
量
what
是怎
they
样。
are,
但
they
是我
could
们所
kill
说
you
这4种
easily.
不好的东西都可以要你的命，
How do you
怎么
deal
办？
with
要
this?
早早的救治。
Make
现在说的，
offerings
哎，
to
供
Earth
地
Store
藏
Bodhisattva.
王的这个像啊，诵
Chanting
念
and
名
reading
号，
the
诵念经
sutras
典。
allowed work too.
接下
9.
来是
They'll be
第9
protected
条，
both
出
inside
入
and away from their
安
residence.
我们
What
在
do we
人
need
生
to
之
keep
中，
living?
具体生活之
Clothes,
中有个
food,
代表着生
shelter,
活，
and
就是衣食
transportation,
住行
right?
嘛。
In
因为在过去
agricultural
的农业社
societies,
会哈，
people
比如
didn't
说
move
我的
around
行动
much.
仅是局限在
One's
我
home
家
was close to
和
his
到我
farm,
家里的
maybe
农
10
田，
minutes away.
距离很近，走路10分钟就到。
Some
还有
had
一
their
些那
farms
个
connected
房
to
子
their
就是在
homes.
自家土地的这个里头，是吧？等于我走出我的门口就是我家的田地，
So
它就不需要那个
transportation
交通
wasn't
工
a
具。
problem.
可是当
Nowadays,
代哈
it's
不一样
different.
了，
People
今天
living
的
in the
农村
countryside
大家也
also
更
need
希望去
trade
交
and
流啊，
commerce.
购物呀，
They
到
need to
城
move
里呀，到
around
其
to
他的
mingle,
村落
shop,
呀，
and sell their
啊，
goods.
还把我村里的种植的东西卖出去啊，都
Today,
要去出
you
行，对
can't
不对？
live without
都是用交
transportation.
通工具嘛，
Most
做的最
people
多就是
travel
车，
by car.
还有一些
Some
地方
prefer
人喜
to
欢
ride
骑
their
摩托车。
bikes.
啊，我们在
Motorcycles
台湾
stopping at the red
那
light
个一
is a
到红绿
common
灯的
thing
时候，
in
每一次的
Taiwan.
节奏至少几辆到几十辆摩托车就结在那个红灯那里。
With
所
the
以
number of
这个
vehicles
交通工
increasing,
具，
are the roads
这个
getting
马路给
safer?
我们带来了多少的不平安呢？ 呢？
What
它
kills on the
最大
road?
的灾难是来自于速
Speed.
度啊。
For
我们举
example,
例来说，
when a
这个
car's
汽
left
车哈，
front tire
比
bursts,
如说左前轮突然爆胎，
The car, moving at high speed, is going to skid to the left, no doubt. That happens if the car is moving too fast. When a car oversteers, it rolls over easily.
冲击力就让它横向翻滚。
The passengers could die too, if they get thrown out or ejected. That's why wearing a
这个各国
seatbelt
的
is
领导都让
important.
大家一定要绑安全带。
I'm not
绑安
saying
全
that
带
it
有的
offers
还没上去
100%
但是
protection,
不
but
绑
it
安全带
reduces the
就
chances
非
of
常容易
getting
上
yourself killed. The
坐
front
在前排
passengers
座
who
的
are
人不
not
绑安全
buckled
带
up would
会
get
容易
thrown
从
out
前玻璃
easily
当
in a
中
rollover
甩出去
accident and die
这
on
个
the
死亡率
spot.
是非常高，因为甩出去之后
When they
是
get
头
thrown
颅
out, their
撞
heads
地
would hit the
地
ground
面或者
first.
撞到墙上
It's hard to survive that.
啊。
That's
所
why
以
there
今
are
天在
so
使
many
用这个
car
汽车的
accidents
时候啊
nowadays.
这个安全事故特别多。
In
所以我们在
Vancouver
温
and
哥
the
华禅堂
States,
在美国禅
almost
堂
everyone
和大
raised
家一
their
座谈
hand.
的时候，
When we
谁在
asked
交
who had been
通
injured
事故
in
中
road
受过伤，
accidents.
几乎都举手。
Everyone
只要
had
你从
hit
开车那一
something
天
since
谁没
they
撞过
started
东西？
driving.
几乎多多少少都撞过，对不对？
It could
有
be
的
as
形成叫
serious
做
as
事
a
故，
car
有
crash
的
or
就
as
是太
minor
小
as
的
bumping
就
into
不
a
算事
wall.
故了，但是都会撞过点东西。
When
所
we're
以我
here
们在这
reading
里
the
读经
sutra,
的时候，
we
一个
may
出入
not
平安，
deeply
这个
feel
啥了
that
不
being
起？我
safe
们
on
容
the
易淡化。
road is
所以只有
important.
说他
They'll
不平
find
安的
out
时候，你才
once
知
they
道
get
这个
into
多
an
多重
accident.
要
对，
啊！
Making
就是
offerings to Earth Store
佛经里讲的
Bodhisattva
哈，
is
是
one way
供
to keep
地
you
藏王菩
safe.
萨啊。
Here,
那我们
in
法门
Bodhi
呢，也是
meditation,
药师
we
法门呢，
worship
我
medicine
们有
Buddha. We do
几
have
种佛像
ornaments of
哈，
other Buddhas
药师
too.
佛
You
像
should have
对，
this
这个是
medicine
可以
Buddha
可
car
以挂在
tassel.
车上，
是
保平安
Keep
琉
one
璃
in your
的
car. It
东方
keeps
琉
you
璃世
safe.
界呀。
Look
还
at
有
this,
它
a
还有
golden
金色的
Guanyin
观世
Bodhisattva.
音菩萨，
嗯
金色的观世音菩萨，
Keep one
哎，
in
也
your
可以
car
挂在车
too.
里。
If you
其实
don't
这
want
个
it in your
大家别
car,
死板
can you
哈，
hang one
说
in
我
your
挂在
house?
我家里可不可以啊？
Of course,
可以，
anywhere
挂
is
在哪儿都
fine.
行。
People
对，
have written to
之
me
前好
about
几个
how
人
they
给我
were
写信，
saved by their
啊，
car
我们这个
tassels.
琉璃的佛像在车上保平安哈。
Remember
就
the
去到澳大利
forest
亚
fire
墨尔本
incidents
那
in
边，
Australia
他们
last
去年
year?
那个森林大火呀，那
Someone was
突然
driving on the
差一点就
highway
出问题，
beside the burning
在这
forest
个大
last
火旁
year.
边的公路上走哈，
It was
公路
hard to
非
see
常就
clearly
是
with
烤
the
化
fire
了
burning so
啊，就差
fiercely.
点撞上去。
This
可是
person
他
had
在
a
车上
6-syllable
有当
mantra
时有
charm
这个六字大明咒，
and a
还有
medicine
挂
Buddha
着这个药
tassel
师
in his
佛的
car.
这个车挂这个佛像，
He
啊，保
survived.
平安。
His
我当
eyes
时
were
就是
shut.
那一刹那吓得他闭上眼，
When
一
he
定
was
被那个大
surprised by
火
a
车给
truck
撞死。
appearing before him,
但
there
是
was only a
就差
gap of
前头
10 centimeters
10公
between
分
his car and the
没
truck.
撞到他，非
Scary,
常的恐怖。
right? Now
所
you
以这
know
个
how
出入
important
平安
staying
哈，
protected
特
is.
别特别重要。
We
我
can
们就
skip
不
the
讲那些令
stories of
大家特别惊
horrifying
悚的案件了
accidents,
哈，
since
我
you
们就
can
光
search
因为
them
美
on
国
the
很
internet
多一
easily.
般的事儿都是公开的嘛，
About
你查这些资料
4.8
查到，
million people are
一
hurt
年
and
呢光受伤
40,000
的就
people are
480万，
killed in
死
road
亡率
accidents every year
4
in
万
the
多。
States.
我
In
们查了一些加
California
州的话，
alone, about
这个死亡
5,000
率的
people
话，
die in
每
road
一年都
accidents a
是
year.
5000几5000几，都
That's
是
how
这
it
样。
is.
嗯，
Now
所
you
以
know how
出入
important
平安
staying
太重
protected
要了。
is.
师傅，
Master,
那么
here's
还
the
有
10th
第10
benefit.
项
They will
叫
encounter
多
many
与
causes
圣
for
因，这
holiness.
里也是想
Please
请师傅
explain
给
to
我
us
们也
what
解释一
causes
下
for
这个
holiness
圣因是指
means.
什么。那么
Also,
多与
how can
圣
we
因
benefit
对
from
我
it?
们人有什么样的利益好处呢？
Right,
多遇
they
就是
will
经常遇
encounter
到，
many
多
causes
多
for
遇到。
holiness.
这个圣因呢，首
So,
先是
what's
什
this
么是圣？
causes for
这里指
holiness?
的呢
Think
是
of
神
it
那样
as
的意思。
connections with the
比如
Buddha
说
or
与
the
佛菩萨
Bodhisattvas.
和神啊产生一些关系。
The
但是因呢，
causes
这叫
refers to
起始
reasons
点，
that take you to
就
the
是与
Buddha
佛
or
菩萨结
Bodhisattvas
个
to
善
form
缘。
connections with them. An
经常很
accomplished
多大法
master
师
would
哈，
say,
哎，
when
一见
seeing
面
a
说，哎，
youth,
年
young
轻人
man,
不错
you
哈，
look
很吉祥。
auspicious. What do
你
you
有什么
want?
事儿？说我
Oh,
没啥事儿，我就是
nothing.
路
I'm
过而
just
已。
passing by.
哎，
Want a
喝杯水
drink?
我也不渴，
No.
你看为
Why
什
are
么
you
给我水？
offering me
为
a
什么找我
drink?
说话？
Why are you
结个善
talking with
缘。
me? To have a a
这就是
friendship
说
with you. This
这位大
master
师
could be
代表
Buddha's
着佛菩萨
representative,
给你结个善缘啊，
who
就是
comes
这
to
个意思
form a
就是说
connection with you,
种下一个
sowing a
与
seed.
神灵与佛菩萨的一个慈悲的种子。
That's
即
the
为因。
cause for holiness.
但
You'll
是
be
未
protected
来
and
你
auspicious
获得
in
了
the
保佑
future.
为了又吉祥了，得
Achieving
到大
more.
成就了，
Every
那叫
event,
果。
crop, has
叫
a
因果。
cause, seed.
所以结下
Consider it
这
an
个善
auspicious
因，
seed
就
that
等于
helps you
种下了
obtain
一个吉
protection,
祥的种子，未来你就被护佑，
enlightenment,
可能还会
liberation, and
叫做
Buddhahood.
解脱开悟，或者成为神圣，对吧？
These are
这是结
sacred
这个因
causes that lead you
啊，与这个佛菩萨
to the
结下
Buddha
这么一
and
个
Bodhisattvas.
就是超过自然的这个大的慈悲因缘 啊，
That's why they're
所以
called
成为叫圣因
causes for holiness.
啊，叫多遇圣因呐哈。
Some don't
反回
get
来
so
说，
lucky.
你
They
遇到都
encounter
是
evil causes
多遇
instead of
恶因
sacred ones.
多遇邪因，多遇鬼因，啊，这里没有
So
路你
what
往
does
前
that get
闯，
them
这个是
into?
死路你过
They
来。
take the
对
wrong
不对？
paths
这
and
有
make
这样
silly
不懂事的。
mistakes.
比如说
For example,
诽谤
slandering the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, and their
诽谤
masters.
救过你命的师傅，
What
这是地
happens when
狱
you
无
choose
门
hell
你
but
自
not
打呀，
heaven?
自己闯啊，哎，那就是地狱之门给你打开了。
If you
就造了
sowed
一个
seeds
恶
of evil,
众神灵
then demons and
啊
ghosts will come
造
to
一些
you.
这个这个妖邪妖怪，是鬼都会来修理你了，对吧？这造恶因了。
对，
You're
那
going
所以
to
呢，
see
你就是梦
ghosts
中
in
见
real
鬼
life and your
你睡觉
dreams.
旁边躺那个鬼，是吧？你洗澡他给你还帮你服务挠挠背，说做圣
What
因
kind
你
of
不在乎，
crops
如
do
果
you
造
get
恶
when
因
you
你
sow
想想
evil
那个果
seeds?
是什么？
哎，全是地狱。
Disrespecting your
忤逆
parents
父
or
母，
hurting them,
伤害父母，伤
hurting
害
your
你
masters,
这
teachers,
个救过
etc.
命的师傅或者受过学业的老师，
All
那
these
就是
stem
造
from
恶因。
sowing seeds of evil. You might even
出
shed a
佛身
Buddha's
血
blood,
啊，
or
欺骗
steal
偷
items
盗
from a meditation
道场里
place.
的财物，是吧？
When you
造恶
plant
因，
evil causes,
地狱就会
ghosts from
这
hell
个
will
恶鬼就
find
来
you.
修理你。
It's
所以说
okay to
圣
not
因不
know
理
the
解没关
sacred
系，你知道
causes.
恶因
Know
是什
the
么你就知道
evil
了。
ones and
所以
stay
多
away from
造
them.
多
Become
接
friends
触
with
善
wise
知
and
识，
kind people.
多恭
Revere
敬
meditation
正宗好的
practitioners,
修行人，是吧？
the
多去
Buddha and
恭
the
敬佛菩
Bodhisattvas.
萨，
Then
我
you
们
shall
得
be
到的是什么呢？
rewarded with
吉祥，
auspiciousness and Buddha's
佛光普
illumination.
照，
All
甚至是
disasters that should
哎，
befall you will be
像这
avoided.
个灾难哈，叫化解啊，
You
有
shall
有
turn
些呢叫遇难
disasters
成
into
祥，
blessings. Your
把你之
sins
前
will
的
be
罪过要
forgiven.
消化掉，本
Blessings
来
will
不
come
吉祥的
instead
那
of
吉祥了。
punishment. You'll
像
live
有些
until
命
80,
该
when
30
you were
岁死亡
supposed
的，
to
结果你
die
活到
at the
80岁也
age of
不死。
30. You'll
本来
live
你
a
应该
wealthy
是个穷
life
苦命的，结
when
果
you
你
were
变成
supposed to live
不穷
poor.
苦了，这多
Awesome,
好啊！
right?
这
It's
都是
possible if
造
you plant
善
the
因呐。
causes for
哎呀，
holiness. How do
那
you
怎
do
么怎么
that?
造这个善因呢？首
First,
先要有这你
aspire to
心中
do
的愿
so.
望。
When
当
you
遇到这
encounter
样
the
的善知识，
knowledgeable and kind
这些大师
practitioners,
傅，这些
Buddhas
佛
and
菩萨，不能
Bodhisattvas,
有丝
never
毫的
treat
这
them
个
with
怠
neglect.
慢呐、
Don't
亵
profane
渎
or
呀、
slander.
诽谤啊，
You should
恭
worry
敬当
about
中就
not
怕
showing
失
enough respect.
啊。
Being
你何况不
disrespectful
恭
is
敬了
definitely
啊。
unacceptable.
所以
So,
呢，希
practice
望大家
kindness,
啊都
do
能
more
够
good
一
deeds.
心向善，哎，多做善事，
收到。
对，多积
Accumulate
功
more
德，
merits and
收到。
always be
还
grateful.
有常怀感恩之心。
收到。
嗯，
Whatever
当
you
我们
do, you do it with
在
gratitude.
每天的一些行为的时候，要怀有感恩。
Master, the sutra also mentions that you leave the sea of suffering and ultimately attain the joy of nirvana.
脱离苦海，证涅槃乐。
What's the
其实是
meaning
问
of
我们该
attain the
如何
joy
来
of
理解
nirvana?
证涅槃乐。
When you
证
attain
就
something,
是
you achieve
见
something.
证或者验证的意思啊，就是一定会获得啊，达到。涅
Attaining the
槃
joy of
是
nirvana
佛教中
refers to one's
其实就是
achievement
成
of
佛，
enlightenment.
几乎是同一个意思啊。
This
涅
term
槃
was
通
first
常叫
used
做
in the
究竟
period
涅
of
槃。
Sakyamuni
究
Buddha.
竟涅槃这个词汇，它来自于佛陀在早期，就是
Sakyamuni
打坐
practiced for
禅
7
修的
years
那
and
个时候。
finally attained
当
Paramitha,
他
right?
经过了7年以上的这个禅修，进入了所谓叫三波罗蜜啊那个境界之后，
Attaining Paramitha
达
freed
到
him from the
他已经
control of
出
the
离
six
了，
realms:
出离了6道，
the
地狱
hell
道、
realm, the hungry
恶鬼
ghost
道、
realm, and the
畜生
animal
道，
realm,
这
are
是下
called
面
the
的3
bottom
道。
3 realms.
凡是有欲
All
望，都是
beings
叫
with desires
6
are
道
bound
里
in
面。
the six
但
realms,
是
having achieved
涅槃这个
Paramitha.
境界是
One
超
is
越
able to
出
free
了
himself from the control of
这
the
个
six
6道，
realms.
就
Not
到这
even
个
the
6道
rulers
这
of
个
those
磁场，这
realms
个
are
能
able
量
to
就不
control
能
that
再统
person.
领它了。那么在
Having
这个境
achieved
界的时候，
Paramitha, one
这跟
also
佛一个
unlocks
是有几个能力哈，
the
将世
Buddha
界
eye
看透，
ability and the affliction
漏
free
尽空，
ability.
佛
Both
眼通。
abilities allow
漏
the
尽空
owner
的
to
意
see
思和
through
佛眼
to
通
all
很像。
truths.
比如说
You can
看一个人，
rewind
看你
or
前
fast
300
forward a
世，
person's past
后
or
300
his
世，
future. Up to
前500
500
世，后
lifetimes,
800
even
世，
800
都有可能。这些
lifetimes.
漏尽通
That's
和
what
佛
the
眼通
Buddha
的
eye
概
can
念，
do. One
只有
has to
达到了
cultivate to a certain level to
这
gain
种
this
修行的
ability.
境界才能够有这样的能力。
Now, back to attaining the joy of nirvana. When we say Sakyamuni finally attains the joy of nirvana,
在佛经都是这么记载的，佛祖释迦牟尼涅槃。
people think it's just a respectful way of saying Sakyamuni
就
died.
是一种尊敬的说死亡的意思。
The joy of nirvana is more than just being dead. I prefer to think of it as a state where the being lives forever.
我自己也是这么理解，我
It's
自己也可以
true,
见证。
I had a similar experience. Even though my level isn't as high as that of Sakyamuni Buddha, I once practiced to the point where I saw another me. It looked like an obscure, shadowy being. I thought it was a ghost, so I ignored it.
我就不理。
Ghosts don't scare me. I'm immune to them.
因为不懂嘛，
I
所以就
just
不会执
ignore
着，对
them.
不对？
I'm not
更不会担
worried,
心，也不会害
not
怕，
scared,
也不会
and
有
I've no
念。
time for them.
所以有
Later,
一天的
I
时候
found
又
out
看
that
见
that
了，
being was
这
actually
个
me,
黑影呢，就
myself.
是我自己。
I thought it
茫
was
茫
the
的
ghost
是
of
我
someone
还是
else.
别人呢？
It
就
looked
看
more
是我自己。
powerful and holier
啊
than me.
但是比自己呢，就显得那种像的更庄严。
It was common to see illusions during meditation practices, so I didn't let it bother me that much.
无所谓。
Later,
又隔
I
了
saw
很
it
久之后
again.
又显像，
It
又
was
显像变
shining
成金色
brightly
的。
in gold.
我
It
自
was
己。
me. I
整个
was
身体
wearing
衣服都是
gold.
金的。
I
我还
even
用
tried to
试着
test whether
真
the
金假
gold
银的。
was fake,
因为现
as
在很
there
多
is
造
so
假黄
much
金的
fake
哈。
gold
哎，
nowadays.
但是
Even under
在那
that
种境界之
circumstance,
中，我还
I
要说这个
still
疑问，
kept calm and
这个金，
verified that the gold was
而且这
real.
个金
The
也越来
golden
越
image became
越
brighter and
黄色，
brighter
越亮，
gradually.
越像金。哎，那个形象就是那个样子。
Later,
到
a
有一天手
character
上显
appeared on
字，
my palm.
啊，
It
从一个
reads
方向就看
Buddha
叫佛，另一
and
个方向叫金
deity in
仙。
gold,
哦，原
so
来
that
金
was
呈
what
现
it
这个意
meant.
思啊，就
Maybe
是最
that's
终
what I've
究竟的
become.
意思。这
Gold
个金
symbolizes
呈现
eternity.
给我们看的时候，这也叫做永恒的意思。
True
真金不
gold
怕火
doesn't
炼。
fear fierce
你比方这个
fire.
金子
This
造出一个
applies
东
to
西啊，
anything
包括
made
鎏
of pure
金。
gold.
你看现在
2,500 years ago,
2500
during
年
the
以上
Warring
战国时
period,
期做的
it was
青
common
铜
for
器的上
iron
头做的一
wares
些
to
鎏
be
金。
gilded. The
青铜
iron
器可以
wares
腐
would
烂掉，但是那
decay,
个鎏金
but
还
the
好。
gilding would remain. A
比如
small
做了个小
bowl
金
made
碗，
of gold would
放了
still be
1000年到
intact
5000
after
年，
10,000
现在到
years.
10000年的。你们四
Various
川有一
gilded
个
artifacts were
三
dug
星
out
堆，
at Sangsingli,
三星堆出的那个金
Sichuan,
鸟
China.
和那
The
个金
body
手
of
杖那
those
个皮哈，
artifacts decayed, but
是
not their
0.3毫
gilding.
米厚，那么薄的那个金皮不会坏，金
Gold
子
doesn't
就是
rust
不
or
会坏，
decay.
所
That's
以就
why
意
it
味着是
symbolizes
永恒的意
eternity.
思。
So
我
I
修
got
行
to
这
the
么
level
差，
of golden body.
我都会证得这一点，金身。那佛
Sakyamuni
呢
Buddha attained
的
the
涅槃，
joy of
从
nirvana.
这一次
One
进入
shall
了这样
not
的一个状
perish
态之
once
后，
they
就
achieve
再
this
也不
state.
会走向灭亡那一天，
They
就达
live
到永恒
forever.
的生命状态，也
Apart
能
from
使
being
它
imperishable,
不光是一种永远不死的一个状态而已。
Sakyamuni Buddha
化
also
身
has countless
无量。
manifestations.
在你
When
真
you
心正
chant
念他
his
的时候，你
name
会看到他，
sincerely, he
他
can
能
come
帮
to
你。
help you.
所以这
Mortals
个他
die
和一
and
般
become
人
ghosts,
死亡
but
成为
not
鬼魂不一
Sakyamuni
样的，
Buddha. He
他进
achieved
入
a
一种就
godlike
是
state
这
that puts
是
him above all beings.
超人类、超神灵的一种超级的神圣的状态。哎，这
That's
叫
the
做
state of the
涅
joy
槃。
of nirvana. The
所以
Buddha
佛
has
就
told
嘱
us
咐
the
大家，
way.
大家就照着这么一个简单的方法去做，
Chant and make
供地
offerings
藏
to
菩
Earth
萨
Store
形象，
Bodhisattva.
诵念他的名号和咒语，
Read
诵
the
念地
Earth
藏经，
Store
时常
Sutra
发
and
心
make
供养
offerings to the
啊，
poor.
常常供养布施，对吧？
You
你
shall
将
gain the
来有一
merits
天
to attain the joy
啊，
of
当这
nirvana.
个功德积累起来之后，你会证得涅槃的
That's
那
the
种最
highest
高
state
的
of life one can
这个生
attain.
命的状态。
I
我
don't
觉得
think the
佛
Buddha
说的
was
不是虚
bluffing
言，
when
我
he
能
said
征
all
服
beings
众
can
生皆
attain
能征服，
Buddhahood. It's
就是一个
possible
时
when
间
you've
功
accumulated
德
enough
先后的问
merits.
题。
By
就是说，
reading the Earth
修
Store
地藏
Sutra
经
and doing
到
what
此
it
做，
says,
将来
you
能
can
获
attain
得
this
这么
highest
高的境
level.
界。
This
在
is the
佛法中
highest
没有
level
办
in
法再超
Buddhism.
过这个涅槃了。
That's
涅
the
槃
most
是
you can
叫做
cultivate.
终极的追求状态，就是
This
那
is
就
the
是佛
state of a
法。
Buddha. The
他的
joy
涅
of
槃也是因
nirvana
为
is
慈悲的
not
愿望，
possible
要
without
利
a
益一
compassionate
切众生，
aspiration to
利益一
benefit
切
all
众生，因为
sentient
这个愿望，
beings,
再
lots
加
of
上认真的
practice
好好
and
修
good
行，再做功
deeds.
德等等的。
Having
等他
attained the
成佛，
joy of
达到涅槃
nirvana,
之后，只要
Sakyamuni
人
Buddha
想
can appear
想
anywhere
到他，
he's
希望他
needed.
帮我开智慧，
He
帮
grants
我
all
施力，帮我
wishes. purposes. From helping people get rich to helping people find a partner. The trick of manifestations is something only the Buddha could do. The Diamond Sutra mentions that Buddha could appear in all kinds of forms.
如果大家需要的话，我可以化成 各种各样的生命形象。
Man, woman, old, young, government officer, king, etc.
都可以的。
If
所以
Earth
再说
Store
一点
Bodhisattva
最
or
简单
any
的说，
Bodhisattva,
那地藏王菩萨也好，这里的任何一位菩萨，
any
包括这
ghost
里的鬼
king
王，
or any
包括这
deity
个大地
vowed
之
to
神，
make
对不
you
对？
rich,
他想让我们一个普通众生发财，
would you
能不
end
能做
up
得到？
poor? No way.
对
This is
他们来
too
说，
easy for
原来
them.
这么低的一个要求，可以。
That's
这
how
样。
it is. You
大家
may
听起来
find
不
this
信
hard
好。
to believe,
我今天
but
说的
this
都
is the
是也叫
truth.
如实语，
I'm
是
not
我的如实
bluffing,
语，
and
打
this
心
is
里
what
出
I
来的。
think.
我
Can I
要大
become
富大贵
rich?
行不行？
Yes.
行
Of course.
可以。
This
很
is
容
easy.
易。
How
是吧？找
about
不好对
finding
象
a
行不行？
partner? Of course.
行。
How
生两
about
个宝
having
宝可
two
不可以？
children? I could
可
even
以，
have
生
10
10个
if I
都可
wanted
以。
to. Can
还
I
有你
achieve
想做一
something
番事
great?
业可不可以？
Of course.
可以。啊。
What
说将
about
来你
good
的
looks
孩子
for
长
my
得好看一
children?
些，可不
Is
可以？
this possible? Of
可
course.
以。
Can
让
my
孩子将
children
来
become
聪明一点，可
smarter?
不可以？
Why not?
可以。哎。哎。
Can I
死了之
reach
后
the
上天
heavens
堂
when
可
I
不可
pass
以？
away? Sure.
可以。
What
你还
else?
追求啥吧？
Good
是吧？穿
clothes
个
and
好衣服，
stylish
染个头发，
hairstyle?
太
Too
容易了，可
easy.
以。
Better
是吧？皮
skin
肤变好点
condition?
儿，
Too
太容易了，
easy.
可以。
This
就是
is
这
the
样。
truth. How
哎，你
can
说
Buddha
这
fulfill
这么
all
多事儿
these
都能满
wishes?
足呀？
It's
对呀，就看
possible
你
if
是
you're
否有没有
truly
分真。
sincere. How
因
many
为
of you
几个人
shed
你在学
tears
佛
when
的时候，就是
practicing?
我是真诚的，
You will when
让
your
自己都
sincerity is
感动的
pushed to
泪
its limit.
泪流满面，哗哗的那样，让自己感动的。
When
之后
that
你的真
happens,
诚
you'll
都
be
感动了自己
emotionally
有吗？
moved and shed
真的，
tears.
你的那个真诚要让自己都能感动，
I
这
call
叫
that
真诚，
utmost sincerity.
知道吗？
When
你
you're
让
so
自己都就
sincere
是
that you
感动，
moved
感动自
even
己就是真
yourself,
的嘛。
the
真
Buddha
的
will
才
do the
能
rest by making
与
you a
佛菩萨
deity in
才能沟
gold.
通。说这孩子不错，让他变成金身吧。
There's
多
no
大家
need
别
to
人说
ask
来个
for
金元宝，
gold if you are
干脆
gold
你自己
yourself.
就来个金的。
My
我
mom
当年
once
修的
asked
时
me
候，
what the point of
我
my
跟我妈说那
practices
个，
was.
嗯，
Can
我
it
妈
make
说
you
你修这
rich?
干嘛？还能发财吗？
That's
不
what
知道。
she asked.
嗯，
Later,
后来觉得我
when
修
she
的还
saw
不
me
错的。
getting better,
我们
she
修一
asked
个
me if I
功
could
夫叫
turn
点石
stones
成
into
金的。
gold. I
哎，
took
我
her
妈说
words
这句话我就记住。
seriously.
哎，
So,
有一天
one
我见
day,
到阿弥陀
when
佛
I
跟他
saw
对话，
Buddha in my
哎，
dream, I
我跟阿弥
asked
陀
him to
佛，我
grant
妈
me
说
the
的，
ability
能不
to
能做
turn
点功夫，
stones
让我
into
点石
gold.
成金？我点石成金，
They
点
call it
啥
the
都有价值。
Midas touch ability.
啊，我就阿弥陀
So,
佛就
the
笑着
Buddha
说
said
可
yes.
以，
Then
点
he
我的手
pointed
指，
to my
就
index
点我这个
finger.
右手
It's
指，
this finger,
啊，点
see?
手指，
Then,
啊，他变
this
了好几
finger
幅画，
just shone
啊，
brightly. I
但
haven't
是我
tried
没点过
turning
石头，
stones into gold yet.
就没舍
Stones
得，因
should
为很
just
多石头
remain
比金子还贵。
stones. That's what I think.
啊，但是
The
我开
good
始
thing is that
学
I've
会了
learned to spot
发现
treasures.
宝贝，说起来
Treasures
大家
which
都不信，
people call garbage.
很多你觉得没价值，我觉得都有价值。
I can
我能
find
发现你
value
的
in
价值。
so-called
佛呢，
garbage.
在那
In
个时
my
候就跟我
dream,
对话
the
说，
Buddha told me
世间
gold
的
is
人哈，
everywhere on the
是
ground.
看着长了眼，实际上根本就不长眼。
But people
遍
just
地
kick
黄
the
金，
gold away
他们
like
都当烂
stones.
砖头给踢走了。你跟
Then,
我
the
学了之
Buddha
后，就
told
是
me
说，
that with his
遍地烂砖
blessing,
头，
I
当
could
你
make
拿起来
stones valuable
就是
treasures
黄
that
金
help
和
people.
宝石。
That
其实叫
ability
点
is
石
even
成
better
金
than the
的，
Midas
它本
touch.
有的价值，
In
你都有一
short,
双
I
慧
was
眼去
blessed with the
发
wisdom
现
to
它的
spot
好
treasures in piles of dirt.
啊，这才叫智慧。智
That's
慧
even
远
better
远比
than the
那个点
Midas
石成金
touch.
更重要。
True
希望你有那份
sincerity
真
is when
心，
you're moved when
在佛
facing
前
the
的真
Buddha.
心，让自己都能感动，你在谈得上叫真心。
When
我
I
这么说
repent
就是
and
我
do
的经验。
prostrations
我
facing
自
Buddha,
己那个真心忏悔呀、礼拜啊，那
I
个
can't
我自己
stop my
感动的
tears
是
from
眼泪
running
哗哗
down
哗。
like a waterfall.
这是
I'm
自己的
speaking
真
from my
心，
own
自己
experience
是
of what
见证的
utmost
人。
sincerity is.
我刚
The
才讲的那
wishes
些
that I
那些
spoke
看
of
似
are
的好
easy
处，
to fulfill.
都是很容易的。人间所获得的好处，对我来讲，那
Those
都
are
是
easy
容易的
wishes.
事情。
To
而
attain
成
the
就那
joy
个
of
最终
nirvana
的
is
涅
the
槃极
ultimate
乐，
goal.
才是最重要的。
How
那
do
我
we
们怎么
do
办
that?
呢？我
What
们
if
智慧
our
不够怎
wisdom
么
is
办呢？
not enough.
真诚。
Sincerity is the
我啥都没有，
key.
要
You
真
can
诚
be
才行。
short of
你
everything,
做人说我要
qualifications,
文化程度不
intelligence,
高，要
looks,
智力没有，
etc., but
要
not
长相也没
sincerity.
有，怎么办呢？
If
你还
one
不
is
真诚，你还狡
insincere
猾，
and
本来就缺
scams
心眼儿，
others
狡
at
猾
the
的
same
法。
time,
要啥都没有，还骗人的话，那
this
叫恶
person
鬼，
is
就这
and
一
will
辈子
always be a
成
hungry
为在
ghost.
人世间的恶鬼，挨饿的鬼。
You
知
should
道
know this. As
所以
long as
我
you're
们啥都没
truly
有，但有一
sincere,
份真诚
wealth
的
will
话呢，
come, and
这
you
叫
shall
大
live a
福
good
大
life.
平步青云啊。
Believe
这
it
是我
or
的经验
not,
呢。
I'm speaking from my
信
own
不信？
experience.
有福
Those
的
who are
人
blessed
自
will
然
believe
会
what I
相信，
say,
也
and
自
they
然
will
会
one
获得，
day tell
也
me
自
how
然
they've been
早晚有一
blessed.
天会跟我来见证、来分享。
I
当然，
hope
希望
one
有一
day you'll
天
be
哈，
blessed with the
点
Midas
石成
touch
金，这样的能力
and the
和
wisdom to
分辨世
recognize
间一切
treasures
宝
in the
物的智
world.
慧啊，希望给更多的人啊都能获得啊。
Thank you, Master. This
好，
is
我
perhaps the
们但
most
愿呢，
important
今天
chapter
我
of
们
this
所讲
sutra.
的这个《地藏经》中最重要的一品哈，
Try
也
to
就是
recall
这个天
Prithivi's
老地
question
神
on merit
问佛的这
dedication.
些吉祥的内容哈。如
Always
果有功
dedicate
德
your
的话，
merits to the
我们
Dharma
乐意
realm, the
回向法
universe.
界，回向给宇宙，
All
回向给
Buddhas,
佛菩萨，
Bodhisattvas, and ghosts.
回向给一切的贵神，
This
让
helps all
一切众
beings to
生
receive
获
joy,
得安乐，
peace, and happiness.
一切众生获得幸福，
All
一切的
beings'
众
wishes
生
shall be fulfilled,
得到
and they shall
满意
find a
的
partner.
愿望，一切众生都有好姻缘，
They
一
shall
切的
also
众
be
生
blessed with good
都有好
jobs.
工作。
The
愿
world shall be peaceful.
天下太平。
All right, that's all for
今
today.
天我们学经的内容就到此啊，
I
祝
wish
大
you
家如意
auspiciousness.
吉祥。
Received. I wish you
法喜
Dharma
充满。
joy. Received. I wish you
智慧
lots
充
of
满。
wisdom. Received. I wish
幸
you
福快乐。
happiness. Received.
再
See
见。
you next time. Thank you, Master.
的红典礼，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。 人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，了解生命的真理，修行的意义。因为有了你，日子犹如彩虹般美丽。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。我快乐了，我美丽了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与您相遇。小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，